Welcome to NFL Daily, where we can't believe the Chiefs or the Ravens are going to be 1-3 after this week. I'm Gregg Rosenthal. I'm here in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. It is a full house today. My friends, Patrick Claybon, Jourdan Rodrigue, and returning the king, Steve Wyche. Yes, welcome to NFL Daily. You're back, Steve.
I'm back. I'm fired up. Went through a whole weekend of games. You know, did the Commanders Raiders, did the Ravens getting handled a little bit by the Lions. So I'm in the spirit.
I like when you're giving us the good stuff before the show starts.
Oh, yeah.
I just want those elbows to stay as sharp as they are before the mics turn on, you know?
Always.
Okay.
Always.
How we feeling, guys?
Good. How are you feeling?
I'm ready
for your trip?
We're going tonight. I'm going tonight, but you know,
You're gonna have so much fun.
I am looking forward to it. We got a couple shows right when we land in Dublin, but we got a couple shows right now, including that Ravens Chiefs banger.
Yeah, let's get into it. The Baltimore Ravens favored by 2.5 because the planet hates me against the Kansas City Chiefs. The over under 48.5. We get Jim, Tony, and Tracy on the call. The defense kind of got a little bit exposed. Derrick Henry fumbled for the third time in the fourth quarter this season. The Ravens stonewalled at the goal line, Jourdan. Other than that, Miss Lincoln, how was the play?
It does not feel right to me that Derrick Henry is having fumbling issues. It just does not feel congruous with the universe to me that our king, Derrick Henry, is having fumbling issues. And I don't like to see him in mental turmoil and emotional turmoil on the sideline, throwing his helmet and being so upset with himself and costing these games, swinging these games in these massive moments. Patrick, I'm sort of channeling you as I speak as well. It's just, it doesn't feel like that is right with the universe. But also the Chiefs being, 2-1 or 1-2 also does not feel necessarily right with you. This is a weird game.
Wait, why are you mad that the Ravens are favored in this game? You think that's going to give you some bad voodoo?
No, I actually don't think it matters. Just lamenting the circumstances as I got almost every single pick that I could possibly get wrong last week. And of course, the team losing. And I really think with the Henry fumbles, two of those were great defensive plays.
Right, that was just a great play last week.
Yeah.
There wasn't much to it on the Henry
I just
side.
don't like seeing him be upset. That's all.
But the run game, the bigger issue to me than the fumbling is just the run game stinks.
Yeah.
Like for 2 games, obviously it was incredible week 1, but they haven't had consistent running the last 2 weeks, and they haven't stopped the run. That's like not the Ravens we know.
Well, I tell you, since I was at the game, the run game stank in large part because the receivers couldn't get open. It was a weird thing sitting up in the box watching this offense. Lamar there was nobody to get open other than Mark Andrews, typically as a last option, not as a first priority. Zay Flowers, they doubled him and said, beat us with your other guys.
Yeah.
This is the Lions now. They're not known necessarily to have a great – now, their DBs are fast. Ryan Branch is a really good player, doesn't get talked about enough. But with knowing that they could stop the receivers with 4,
Yeah.
they just stacked up for the run game, and they spied Lamar.
Yeah.
And Alex Anzalone just didn't miss. I mean, anytime Lamar had a run lane, they were so disciplined with their run lanes. Detroit has had a great game plan. I think they're a little bit more dialed in. I don't think it was so much the Ravens slipping as it was the Lions having a great game plan. And it was still a one-possession game.
And I want to say, too, you can run against this Chiefs team. They're 29th in rushing
That's
success,
staggering
in defensive rushing success rate. They are not. I mean, that's what's stunning to me. Like the Ravens took a while last year defensively to turn into their full form. The Chiefs being this susceptible to the run is stunning to me this early in the season.
And it feels like of the 2 teams, I would have more confidence in the Ravens to take advantage of a poor opposing run defense. But it is all weird. You're right. Like the Lions, who are known for playing so much man, they were in zone all night. It did mix them up a little bit. I thought Lamar was the least of their problems.
He was excellent.
Ultimately, but him having to be that good is a problem. So Patrick Mahomes talked this week, and the Chiefs defense, even though they have been bad against the run, they have been better overall the last 2 weeks. And Eric, our producer, insists this is some dynamite sound. Let's listen.
Yeah, I think for us, we got to start faster. I think every game we've kind of said that we haven't really got to do that. And we were moving the ball early in the game last week, but we're settling with field goals. And when you play teams that are really good and have dynamic quarterbacks like the Ravens do, you got to turn those into touchdowns. And that will not only put pressure on them, but it unleashes Spags to be able to do what he wants to do. And you always see when we get leads, it's like he's great. He's a great finisher. He's a great closer of being able to give you different looks and stuff like that. And so we got to take pressure off our defense. And put pressure onto them by starting faster, and we can be better at that this week.
Hey, look at that, you guys. It's the Kansas City Chiefs leading rusher by about 30 yards right now. Isaiah Pacheco has not cracked 100 rushing yards yet. Patrick Mahomes got him beat by about 30 rushing yards right now.
He is the best scrambler, according to Next Gen Stats, in terms of efficiency in the NFL this year. Most yards, like not Lamar, not Josh Allen. It's Patrick Mahomes.
He's it. I mean, the receivers can't get open. Jourdan and I were texting about this a little while ago. Right tackle and left guard issues on the offensive line. So it's Mahomes. I mean, he's got to run for his life. And
I'm glad you brought that up about the offensive line.
That means, Steve, we're texting me too.
That is disappointing
jealous?
to me. I am a little jealous. Also jealous of that jacket there. Like their offensive line has probably been the biggest disappointment, I think, on the team. Josh Simmons, we got so excited about in the preseason. I don't think he's a problem, but he's not standing out. He struggled.
Excited.
I'm still excited.
He's not their issue.
He isn't, but overall, the group is an issue.
Yeah.
And he's a rookie. You're hoping a rookie to just fit in and be average, but that's not good enough because the rest of the group outside of Creed Humphrey is struggling. Do the Ravens, though, Patrick, have the pass rush to actually take advantage? It's crazy how much negative things we can talk about with these two teams right now, but they really aren't playing well. It's not that they're unlucky, I think, to be 1-2. They've looked like 1-2 teams.
Well, I think the pressures, and again, Steve pointed it out, and that's the ultimate. The Lions had a great game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Defensively, especially with Kelvin Shepard, but offensively as well, where if Nnamdi Madubuike is in the game, right, and they do get quicker pressures on Jared Goff, they still weren't able to couple Amon-Ra, and that's to the benefit of the Ravens. Amon-Ra St. Brown isn't playing in this game.
He's so good.
You barely have half of Juju Smith-Schuster left.
Well, you got Tyquan Thornton. Tyquan Thornton is kind of the key to the Chiefs' offense.
He's breaking out.
Which is a crazy thing to say.
It's pretty depressing. And Matt Mahomes mentioned the blitz and how they need to help out Spags. It's interesting. I think that actually does show up in the numbers a little bit because he's wrong about the blitz this year. Like, they're blitzing like crazy, and they're not really getting pressure. I know overall they've done a good job the last couple of weeks, but their pressure numbers are they're blitzing through the roof.
Yeah.
They actually have less pressure when they're blitzing. So I do think, man, a team that doesn't rush the passer well against Lamar Jackson is a tough recipe.
It's going to be tough. I think they're missing Justin Reed a little bit.
Yeah, a lot. You can put somebody in his number out there. It's not working the same.
And if I was a Ravens fan like you, I don't feel comfortable. I mean,
of course not, Greg.
I'm gonna.
And these two teams play each other well.
But
the Chiefs have beaten the Ravens, by the way, in the Lamar Patrick Mahomes era, 5 out of 6 times, including 4 in a row. And so it's another one of those big games. And people talk about Lamar getting a little tight in big games. How about John Harbaugh? Like, where are you at with? I'm a little I'm not as high on John Harbaugh right now as I used to. I feel like he gets a little tight in big games. You got Dan Campbell and Mike Vrabel and all these guys going for 4th downs in big spots, and he's got to read his team and understand his defense is not it right now, and let Lamar Jackson, for instance, last week go for a 4th and 9. He's playing it very tight.
Well, yeah, and my personal bias on the 4th and goal, the sprint out, if I'm not mistaken, it was the same doomed and failed sprint out that they didn't even run correctly against the Pittsburgh Steelers a couple of years ago. It didn't work that time. Get rid of it. Why don't we keep one of the most dynamic pocket passers in the history of the NFL with the best passer rating in the history of the NFL in a position where he has a two-way go and not limit his options on the goal line? So that was frustrating. But yeah, when it's compared with Dan Campbell and the Lions, who again had a great plan, who had a clear idea of what they wanted to do on 4th down, versus I guess we have to on the 1 4th down decision, and then another where it's this defense that's not necessarily doing anything.
It was a beautiful play, though. If you go back and watch the film, I'm going to try to describe this. They motion Amon-Ra inside the tight end, right? And then he goes out on a route and uses the tight end as a rub to catch Marlon Humphrey. It was one of the most beautifully schemed up things. So Ben Johnson, you're in Chicago now. The guy who took your place, unless you designed that, left in the playbook. It was a beautiful play. I mean, there's no way anybody could have stopped it. It was a beautiful play.
That is absolutely fair. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
if your team gets known for blowing big leads and having at some point, you got to look at the coach a little bit in the situational football. All right, that's the game of the week, even though they both have losing records. But I cannot wait to watch this Vikings-Steelers game over in Dublin.
Yeah, looking forward to Minnesota, a 2.5-point favorite against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and Aaron Rodgers, who, if he can have 30 touchdown passes, will pass Peyton Manning on the all-time list and become number 3 with the over-under of 41.5. It's on NFL Network. The great community, the great and free people in Ireland celebrating just their commitment to freedom and anti-imperialism. Joe Davis, Greg Olson, Pam Oliver, and Jamie Erdahl on the call to be there with Gregg Rosenthal doing everything, landing, doing 2 podcasts, Sky Sports podcast, getting set for it. Greg, Aaron Rodgers going to get a win in Dublin, the first ever game in Ireland?
It would be so typical. And I am on the call, you're right, for Talk Sport
Yay!
Radio. So go
Yes,
check
sir.
it out. Halftime with Sky Sports, if you're over there and interested at all. This is a game where if you all you got to do if you're Mike Tomlin, you want a motivational speech, is say, Dan Rooney rather was the ambassador. We are the Ireland team. We're going over there. They have so many Steelers fans. I did a podcast today, and they have more fans than any other team over there. The Steelers, they're both 2-1. The Vikings are starting Carson Wentz, and the Steelers are underdogs in this game. That's disrespect.
I have maybe a better motivational line for you. If you're Mike Tomlin talking to his quarterback, who has looked very spotty over the last 3 games, 3 opening games of the season, you could say, hey, Aaron, another Rodgers scored just as many freaking touchdowns as you did last week. What are you going to do about it? Isaiah Rodgers scored 2 touchdowns by himself for the Minnesota Vikings. That's a corner.
Yeah, don't give him another one.
I am worried if I'm Aaron Rodgers going up against this Vikings defense, because they will test the offensive line protection schemes, and it's a young group. And I have not been impressed with their young offensive line. I think the route to them being good this year is this young group, 2 first-round picks on the outside, Fautanu and Broderick Jones, and young players in the middle too, growing up together and being an asset. Instead, they have really struggled blocking in terms of the running game. And Rodgers doesn't hold the ball too often, but when he does, he tends to get hit. And this is not the right defense to go up against.
I mean, I got Andrew Van Ginkel on one side, Jonathan Grenard on the other side. I mean, it's not like they don't have players. Ivan Pace in the middle. But I got to tell you what, Pittsburgh's defense, what's going on there? I mean, they have not been nearly as consistent as you thought it would. They'll make plays from here and there, but, TJ Watt is off to a tough start. Alex Highsmith hurt again on the edge.
Herbig looked good last week, and
he's a good player. He's a good player. Jordan Addison's coming back from Minnesota, so I like the Vikings. I mean, I see why they're favored here, and I like them going over there and soiling it for those Steelers fans.
Vikings are also probably going to get Ryan Kelly and Justin Schooley back this week, and however, Donovan Jackson's going to be out per Kevin O'Connell earlier this week, so a little bit more continued offensive line shuffling. Remember, Carson Wentz has not played with Ryan Kelly or Justin School.
Well, School, I think at this point is on the bench, which is good for them, because Derek
you might
being back is a major.
It's huge. But coming back, and then you just never know if you're going to need him. I mean, he was a backup, but you just never know if you're going to need him to slide in elsewhere, because they're still dealing with injuries along the line. You guys mentioned the Vikings front, and I did want to take some time to give a shout out to some of the young guys that they found on the interior, and some of the different additions that they found in revamping that interior defensive line. The outside guys, we know that they're good. They've been proving it. This is a team that has a number 2 in pressure rate in the NFL, 49% pressure rate, and they're blitzing 35% of the time because Brian Flores.
That's what he does.
But
that's low for him.
Right, because those interior guys are getting pushed. Jalen Redmond is playing rotational snaps, and he's tied at best in the league with Jeffrey Simmons among interior defensive linemen in pass rush win rate and pressure rate. And Levi Drake Rodriguez, another young guy, great last name, who they're rotating in as well. They
Elijah Williams is getting
they
some
have a
run, too.
ton of guys and they can rotate them and they're getting pushed. And when you brought up that Steelers front and being worried about the inside guys, this is exactly the matchup I'm watching here.
Yeah, like half their offense and almost all their big plays the last couple of games are just dump offs to Jalen Warren, or it's, early script plays. I thought both weeks last week, Arthur Smith was like dealing in the first quarter. Him and Rodgers, they had a good plan, and then that was it for the game. And they basically didn't do anything else the rest of the game. I do worry, though, as someone who's, kind of an anti-Rodgers guy. I'm a little bit of a hater.
Wait, clarify, which Rodgers?
Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, got
Isaiah
it.
Rodgers.
Isaiah's good.
Isaiah Rodgers, honestly, like Howie has taken a little bit of heat in Philadelphia. He did this offseason actually take a little bit of heat for letting Isaiah Rodgers leave. He's kind of that mid-tier free agent, but he played really well for them last year, and they were like, man, we're kind of scrambling at our outside cornerback, and he was good. Why didn't you just pay him? And Brian Flores recognized him. I think we're putting way too much confidence in Carson Wentz coming off of last week. I watched that game back.
I've long believed this.
Expecting like, okay, this is going to be a good, quiet, Carson Wentz performance. And he warmed up a little, but like if that first read wasn't open, he was holding on to it and he was sacked. And the reason his time to throw was so low is because like he either got sacked or he had a first read. And there were some wild running around and a couple just big misses. And if those plays work out different, like you can see those as interceptions or fumbles. And I can just imagine the Steelers defense showing up because they are talented, and this being like a massive turnover game for the Vikings or for both teams where it's like three turnovers on each side.
If we script it that way, though, I think we need the number one passing efficiency defense against Aaron Rodgers to have like this categorical failure that they haven't shown us all season.
Yeah.
No.
Meanwhile, everybody that's played Pittsburgh that didn't turn the ball over 5 times has scored 30 points. Where it's just
Very
like,
true.
does
Their
Carson
defense
Wentz
is not-
need to do that?
Yeah, but there's magic in them there hills. It's like the shamrock under the parquet at the Boston Garden. Let's actually listen to Mike Tomlin talking about the special connection with Ireland.
Man, I think a lot about the late Ambassador Rooney, man, and how fired up he would be about this trip and how important the development of this trip was for him. And so I've been thinking a lot about it. I'm sure I'll be thinking a lot about it this week. And I certainly will be thinking a lot about him when we're there. Man, you talk about a guy that certainly had a lot of passion for Ireland and obviously the Steelers and, serving as ambassador to Ireland. I'm sure he's going to be smiling down at us this weekend.
One of the great owners in the history of the NFL.
Yeah.
When Dan Rooney and some of the other owners, but he was really among the leaders, were making decisions for the betterment of the NFL instead of just thinking about themselves. It's hard to imagine that happening maybe like right now. And so shout out to Dan.
Yeah, and he was an open-minded guy too.
Mhm.
I mean, not just like, okay, let's do it this way because I'm this type of owner. I want this agenda. Like, let's hear what everyone has to say, and then let's come to a.
That's why I'm going to have a hard time picking this game. It's not about the magic. It's more, I keep saying there's nothing worse than a moral victory in the NFL where you get the L. I feel like the Steelers are the reverse. There's nothing better than getting these wins where you don't play very well because they will play better. Like, they will have better games. Their defense will be better, and it just wouldn't surprise me if it was this week.
Okay, if I give you a statistic, I'm not expecting to change your mind because I do know you after all, but this might help you just sway you just a little bit because I know you're worried about Carson Wentz.
Yes.
This is per my colleague Mike Sando at The Athletic. Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores have won 23 games together. In those games, the Vikings defense has totaled almost 20 times more EPA than the offense per True Media. So this defense, whatever happens with Carson Wentz, this defense has got it.
They are the one group in this game that I completely trust, and that's why I will be picking them to win ultimately because that's what I want
There you go.
to happen.
There we go.
I did it.
But I don't really, in my
Go,
heart,
baby.
I'm not confident.
Go, brother.
Yeah. I can't wait. Can't wait.
Yeah, excited for it. And yeah, maybe the safe wins is the version we get all season
Just
long.
run him.
As we all know,
So I keep
decided to really
saying.
go ahead and start to take command.
There it is.
Thank you, Carson.
Love that. The Chicago Bears, 1.5 point favorites after Caleb Williams throws 4 touchdowns and 298 yards against the Dallas Cowboys
on, baby.
on the road Against the Las Vegas Raiders, coming off a loss to the Commanders, the over-under is 47.5. Spiro Ditas, Adam Archuleta, and Aditi Kinkawala on the call. Steve, can the Raiders bounce back and end the hot Bear streak?
I mean, I think they can. It's, I saw Las Vegas last week, and I wasn't surprised. They had a short week because of Monday night game. Second time going back to the East Coast. Remember, they opened at New England, had to go back to Washington. Didn't play well. I thought they were pretty uninspired, in fact, against the Commanders. So I think being at home, they know they'll be tested. It's just weird, offensively, we thought they were going to be better with Genti and everything. Their offensive line got it handed to them by the Commanders. Chicago's got a defensive front that can kind of get into them a little bit.
What did you see with Genti?
Yeah, with Genti is weird because he had a physical run earlier a couple times, and then I didn't see that physicality much anymore. And we've seen in a couple games where he started off plowing a DB or somebody, and he's a very talented player. But you see at Washington, we're looking at clips here where they're into him before he gets going.
Yeah.
And so you really don't know necessarily what to make of him because look on the surface, you're like, man, he's not as physical necessarily as his build, right? But then he doesn't get a chance to get going either at that second level where he can make a guy miss and put some of that musculature on him. So I'm interested to see overall Vegas's offensive game plan because I do think they're passing. They can throw the ball.
Their offensive line's killing them. Look, Genti's 8th in the league in missed tackles forced, but he's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage. They are dead last in run block win rate. Geno Smith is among the 5 or 6 most pressured quarterbacks in the league. So I don't think the Bears are an overly tough matchup, but they made the Washington Commanders look like like your old Vikings from the 70s.
But the stat when they showed that Genti has his gross yardage of like yards after contact is greater than his overall net yardage because he's taken so many negative plays.
Yeah. And his yards before contact, so the blocking, quote unquote, that is open is sort of a oxymoron here because there's not any yards. There's negative yards being open for him.
Yeah.
It's the last in the league is yards before contact. So the offensive line is not blocking open for him. We always say this. It's the age-old trope, adage, lesson, whatever. A really good running back cannot fix a bad offensive line. No. But you really need, to me, when I watch him, and I watched him in person too a couple weeks ago, Steve, and I came away with some similar conclusions as you, is I think he's pressing to make a play because he knows he has to make a lot out of nothing, right? I think that there's a lot of things that a rookie running back has to learn very quickly that are difficult, A, in pass pro, B, I mean, there was even a handoff mistake that might have been on the quarterback in terms of communication and might have been on the center in terms of communication. We just don't know. He was on the wrong side. There are hits behind the line of scrimmage. He's a player to me who is having to make so much out of nothing helping him and also pressing internally, mentally to try to make more happen. And he feels like a player who's putting a lot of pressure on himself mentally to me.
Well, I think the play style plays into that as well. He's a home run hitter. We talked about a running back earlier in the show, and Derrick Henry, who's a home run hitter. Mm-hmm. Guys who look to make big plays, and sometimes it can be a detriment to that. You can say that about some of the best running backs to ever play the game. You go back to Barry Sanders. I think the conversation goes back to the play caller, who the last time was in the NFL was calling plays for the 32nd ranked offense in the league. And now we're in a situation where we have a young running back and an offensive line that's having some trouble. You can put your guys in situations to be successful. And it can't, of course, the blame can be spread equitably, right? But because Ashton Genti does have like negative 25 rush yards over expectation and negative 20 rush yards over expectation in the last 2 weeks. But I think it takes a village for all those things.
I am 100% with you on
and the
that,
person who is coordinating the village is the person that I would put the...
And they haven't been competitive the last 2 weeks.
Good play callers help their players, regardless of what they have.
Right. We gassed up Pete Carroll, culture change, optimism throughout the offseason. And now he's going up against another hire from this cycle, the prize, Ben Johnson. You're home against the Bears. Like, this is, after 2 pretty dispiriting games, this is a game where, like, that culture shows up. Like, the Bears should be a beatable team, but the defense kind of got steamrolled last week, too. They didn't have a ton of fight. Washington came out and just bullied them around. Meanwhile, like, this is the dream schedule. You want to get Caleb Williams' season going? Let let's play the Cowboys and the Raiders back to back. I'm not that convinced talent-wise that the Raiders defense is really it. And like that was the first week, I think, in the Caleb Williams era that, there was only one quarterback hit on him. There was no sacks, no turnovers. That's only happened like a few times in the last 15 years for the Bears. And they played well up front because Caleb will do the wow stuff. Like, we'll see if he can be consistent doing the other stuff, but he'll do the wow stuff if you give him some time against the Raiders.
It's gonna get better, man, with him and Ben Johnson. This is not an easy offense to run. It is going to get better. He's going to have his moments where it's not great, but I'll tell you this, Patrick Graham, the Raiders DC, is going to scheme some stuff up. He actually had some stuff schemed up well against the Commanders, and some of their guys, including Marcus Mariota, made some plays. So we'll see how well they execute. I mean, Crosby is insane. Malcolm Kuntz is good, but the rest of the defensive front did not play like it did the first 2 weeks, and that hurt them. So we'll see. Their linebackers got put into some bad situations. I mean, they got schemed up by Cliff a little bit, who needed to have a bounce back.
They really did. So look, these are like two coaches, Chip and Ben Johnson and Pete Carroll. Like I feel like they're confident. They think well of themselves. One of these two teams is going to be 2-2. Like one of these teams is going to come out of this game with a lot of wind in their sails.
Raiders are coming back.
I don't have a hot take.
I just saw such a clean, I saw such a clean, cohesive. Yes, it was against the Cowboys defense, embattled as they are, but the receivers looked to be on the same page as the quarterback, looked to be on the same page as the offensive line, looked to be the same page as all the blocking structure, looked to be on the same page as, that's what we were looking for. That's actually what we didn't really see in these first two games. Take out the Caleb Williams factor of it all. The whole operation was sloppy the first couple of weeks. This was different to me. This is people starting to speak the same language in that locker room. Yeah, it's a great early test for two new programs. And like I said, the Bears could be feeling good about themselves after this game. Road favorites. Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back. We're going to talk about two teams playing on Monday night that desperately need to win. Back on NFL Daily, I cannot wait to listen to the doubleheader recap on Monday Night Football, hosted for the first time ever by Nick Shook with Jourdan Rodrigue. And one of the games I'll get to is between two teams with no wins, and yet I'm weirdly excited for it. I don't care what you say.
Yeah, somebody's got to win. Monday Night Football. The New York Jets traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins, who are favored by 3. The over-under is 45.5. Chris Fowler, Dan Orlovsky, Louis Riddick, Peter Schrager, and Katie George will be there on the call, Jourdan, as this Fins team has been close. They've been better. Do they win against the Jets?
I think the Jets, it's time for the Jets to start putting it together. I think Tyrod Taylor showed some stuff. They lost, obviously. I think that Will McDonald play gives this group overall some splash juice. Aaron Glenn's reaction also was amazing. And he just is, this is a Jets team that feels like it's being put together in real time as we sort of expected it to, especially sans Justin Fields. But I like what they're doing. I like how they're building this team out. I still have hope for the Jets, even though I know the outside narrative is like, oh, same old Jets. Miami, on the other hand, this is another primetime game that will be probably filled with, as the last broadcast was, questions about the head coach's job status, questions about the GM's job status, questions and real scrutiny on whether the team is playing hard. Last week, Miami played their butts off for Mike McDaniel and for each other, which I think is important to note as well, for their teammates. And they showed that they were not wanting to scrap this season and go down without a fight.
Yeah, I mean, it was week 3. It's week 4 now. If they lose this one, then we'll see what happens. Yeah. I like the way Miami played. It's weird that the amount of giveaways, man. They are not taking care of the football. That's something that really hasn't been the issue with Tua and the rest of this offense. But their offensive line is still. I mean, they knew going into the draft and to the season, hey, the offensive line is an issue. It's still an issue. I mean, it's not going to get going no matter how quick and stuff you try to run this offense. And we keep talking about offensive line so far on the show. It's still an issue.
Yeah.
And we know the Jets can make it a more confounding issue which is why I like the Jets in this game because Miami's been turning the ball over, and the Jets' defense is a team now that I think is really going to start to get rolling.
The vibes are so bad with Miami.
Yeah.
The aftermath of that game, I thought was not promising for how that building is working. It felt like people were starting to protect some turf. I noticed our colleague, Tom Pelissero, on Rich Eisen's show really kind of calling out that interception is Tua Tagovailoa's fault and that there's so many limitations with who Tua is as a player, and because of his concussion history as well, that like making an offense around him is really difficult. And I'm reading between the lines here, and then there's some weird Frank Smith, Darren Waller stuff going on. Like Mike McDaniel almost sounded like he tried to get him off the team. I listened to this podcast, 3 Yards Per Carry, who's kind of parsing all this stuff and people inside the building like claiming territory. I agree that Tua Tagovailoa is not playing well right now, but it does feel like there's camps and vibes-wise, I'm going Jets.
And when you hear that stuff, it's not Tom Pelissero and people like that making.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's when the leak starts springing like this, there are issues in the building.
And McDaniel, even on the podium, more or less said, like, yeah, there were some parts with the operation and the decision-making of our quarterback. And, like, they kept asking about that interception. He was like, he's got to throw it to the flat there. And Kurt Warner's being like, no, that's an offensive scheme problem, that it teaches you to throw it there. So all of that is really ugly.
And I want to say something really quick, that when Mike McDaniel took over that job and the entire, not just media world, minus Steve Wyche, but also, like, the analyst world, the main popular thing to scream about on TV was Tua and what takes can we have and like all of these things. And then there was the Flores of it all before, he went to Minnesota, and Tua really mentally going through some stuff, and everybody out there in the world had an opinion on it. And Mike McDaniel went up to the podium and the lectern every single day and had his quarterbacks back. And so I don't want to forget that part of it, just because butts are tight over there right now, too.
Well, that was 3 or 4 years ago, too.
Yeah.
Defenses have adjusted.
Yeah.
They've seen what they do.
Where's the run game?
Right.
He's supposed to be
Ollie Gordon, erasure.
He's supposed to be Mr. Run Game, and like that is his thing. And I think that's maybe becoming a problem for him because he's not Mr. Pass Game. But if you're going to be Mr. Run Game, they need to have a more consistent running game. They need to run the ball.
Well, when your offensive line is boo-boo.
Yeah, but my thing is, this Miami team, it's like I can't help but thinking it's too little too late, because I do think they found a dude in Ollie Gordon. I think they found a guy. I wish they had him 2 years ago, or this type of player, or this type of plan for this player 2 years ago in the winter against Buffalo. Like, this just feels like it's like, oh, we're learning our lessons too late as a franchise, as an organization, collectively, not just one person or another person.
Yeah, I think learning the lessons too late is a collective thing. And you mentioned the Flores circumstances. A lot of the mitigating factors from the Flores circumstance are still a part of the building.
Yes.
In Miami. And so, like, as people cordon off and they have this leak and that leak to protect, like, their personal image, like, the things that we can see on the field, the quarterback is facing more pressure than he's ever faced in his entire career. The offense is not operating. He's got his lowest passer rating. So either he's just fallen off the map, or it is once again a village that has facilitated the failure of the Miami Dolphins. And so, like, yeah.
I tend to think it's both.
Yes. Yeah. And to be fair, like, the offense has been fine. The defense is one of the worst in the NFL. Yep. And that's where the money is. Like, the offense has been fine the last 2 weeks.
Not in the secondary.
They've made big mistakes. But Jalen Phillips and Bradley Chubb coming off big injuries with big salaries, not really performing. Zach Sealer's weirdly been a negative this year for them. Is usually a great
player.
Consistently
really
good. They miss Calais Campbell.
Right. Chop Robinson, they're not even sure how and where to play him. And then on the flip side, just to give the Jets a little, because we got to move on. They acquired a starting cornerback this week that was very quiet. I was one of the strangest trades I can remember. Jarvis Brownlee, who has started basically since he entered the league as an unknown rookie for the Titans, got traded to the Jets just a couple days ago. And I do think, I don't know what was going on there. He was inactive for week 3 after starting there. I don't know what was going on there in Tennessee, but they gave up on the young
Something went on. And Tennessee has not made a ton of great personnel.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but they need some help because Brandon Stevens has been struggling. And look, Sauce Gardner kind of struggled last week. Like, they are not tackling well. So if you can get you can get those Dolphins players out on the perimeter, like you might spring some long ones.
You want to talk about a defense that has improved? What about a Giro Everill's squad in Carolina? The Panthers coming off a trouncing of the division rival Falcons. Going up against the New England Patriots, who are favored by 5.5 against the 85 Bears, it seems. The over-under is 43.5. Chris Myers, Mark Schlereth, and Jen Hale on the call. Greg, do they do it again?
This is an insane line. I know how you feel about that Ravens one. And maybe it's a Boston thing. Everyone just gets so over their skis on the Patriots and they'll just go for it anyway. Maybe they're trying to sucker people and they really think the Panthers stink, because the Patriots are so sloppy. Like, their defense gives up so many plays. They're all over the place. They have different mistakes. And as good as I've thought that Drake May has played, like, he still had 2 killer turnovers in that game. One was a little bit of a bad luck decision, but they're putting so much on his plate that I think it is a little fair to wonder if he can stay consistent. Even as a fan, like, I'm a little nervous with him having that much on his plate without a ton of help. So I don't know. I think Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Don't they need a nickname? Hard. Like, those 2 guys, they're like the workmen, they're just like no nonsense, no frills running backs, and they're pretty good.
Yeah, you know what? That was a fun game to watch. It was interesting. There's a lot of crossover connections between those 2 coaching staffs. It's like sometimes it's fun.
What game?
The previously Carolina, Atlanta. And, sometimes it's fun to be mean to your friends, So that's an Ejiro Evero defense that stood up, really, for the first time. What I liked watching, and I think Atlanta made plenty of mistakes, and I know we're going to get to that later in the show, or next show. But, like, Carolina made plays on the ball.
Yes.
It's almost like they're playing a little freer. There's nothing. What do they have to lose? They were historically bad last year. They have to develop some younger players behind the Derek Browns, behind the J.C. Horns. They have to make plays behind the Nick Scotts. Like, you've got to make plays on the ball, and you got to play aggressive. You got to jump routes. You've got to do these things that we know this defense, when it has the personnel that it could have, attacks and knows how to do. So why not just go for it?
We got to see it. But yes, Trevon Moehrig, for instance, who's a big free agent signing, had a nice game.
And everything I see from Carolina is they're going to continue to grow and get better. They're not a dynamic team. But I don't think this is a team like, it's just the Panthers. And they and they just blanked the Falcons. That's what they do. They beat the Falcons, right? And then when the Falcons lose in forms like this, it puts their head coach on a little bit of a blowtorch. It's happened to previous head coach. But I just think Bryce is getting better. We love Teteroa McMillan.
Didn't practice Wednesday, which
he's
so concerning.
He's got an ankle injury, calf injury. That's what I meant to say.
So that would be a killer injury if it was serious. But he did finish out last week's game, which generally is a good indicator.
Yeah, but I'm with you on the Patriots, man. I thought they would be turning a little bit more of a corner than they are now on both sides of the ball. And for them to be 5.5-point favorites, I am absolutely surprised by this one.
Yeah, I mean, you guys get tired of me saying it, but the lines would spur action.
Yeah,
and
it'll be 2.5
to inspire people to behave in a certain way, because I feel like it's difficult to look at anything the New England Patriots have done in 2025 and say it's more impressive than what the Carolina Panthers did last week against an Atlanta team that the Vikings were powerless against. And to look at this game where you have to think, after the fumbles from Gibson and Ramondre, that this is going to be the Trey Hendrickson opportunity.
I mean, can it just finally get here?
Travion Henderson.
Yeah.
Like,
maybe. Like, he is playing a decent
Greg to be more excited about the idea.
No, I would love it. He's playing more than people.
It's just because it's us, Patrick. He's trying to not play into what he knows we're looking for, which is his fandom here.
I think Ramondre is a really good player and is ultimately going to be an asset for them. The fumbles the last couple years now have just killed them. Like, there's nothing more you can talk about.
Yeah, last 2 years.
But I get it that Travion Henderson just had like one nightmare game in pass protection, like where he literally had 3 pass protection snaps and he made a catastrophic mistake in all 3.
Yeah,
and so early in your career, that'll get you benched. But even then, he played 25 snaps last week. So I'm with you, because they have no explosive element to their offense. Diggs is slow. Demario Douglas is not playing as well as I would have expected. Kayshon Boutte is clearly their one, plays way more than anyone else, but you're running a passing game where Kayshon Boutte and Hunter Henry are clearly options 1 and 2. It's difficult. I'm actually impressed that they've had as good an offense as they've had.
I think I actually, when I look at the Patriots, if I take away the turnovers, I think they're coming along. Like, I don't think that it's as dire. Drake May's playing really well. I think they're super limited. They have to replace basically two terrible drafts. More than that, because Belichick was awful at drafting near the end there. And last year's draft, not good. So if Vrabel comes in, he starts picking his own guys and signing big money free agents, which is a sign of a bad team that needs to fill the gap somewhere, right? Signing those older players. Minus Milton Williams, who's played well.
Yeah,
for them.
played very well.
But it's like, and getting Christian Gonzalez back this week sounds like they're going to have him. He says he's excited. He told reporters he's excited to get out there.
That is massive, especially if McMillan plays. That's like a perfect matchup for him.
Size.
This is a huge defining element to this game, in my opinion. But these two teams, to me, are both teams that are really coming along, in my opinion. Watching it, the turnovers are bad. You can't do that. But infrastructurally, with what they've had to build out and replace, like, I don't know. This is kind of okay.
Yeah, one of these teams, it's kind of like the Raiders game. One of these teams will be 2-2 and feel good enough. The expectations in New England, I think, were too high going into the year. But I do think at some point I would like to see a team coached by Mike Vrabel, have a good defense.
They will be better.
It's been 8 or 9 years.
It's still early.
He's had like two.
What did you say last time? He's plugging in linebackers that remind him of himself?
Yes, Robert Spillane.
Yeah.
Spillane's good.
Spillane had a good game last
He's a good
week.
player. What are you talking about?
After
He heard you. So did Keenan.
So
Never forget.
perhaps a bounce back for them. Somebody is going to bounce back in Houston on Sunday, we think. The Tennessee Titans. Looking for win number 1 at the Houston Texans, who are favored by 7. The over-under is 38.5. Beth Mowens, Ross Tucker, and Amanda Balionis, our dear friend and friend of the show, on the call. Steve, do the Texans get a win here in 2025?
I think so. Look, already we've got the head coach, the former play caller, turning over play calling duties in Tennessee.
Woo!
Once you brought there, you just drafted a quarterback to get him going like, hey, I have nothing wrong with my play calling. I'm just turning it over right now.
I'm delegating. I'm a leader.
And that's not a excuse expression. I'll put a 2-finger pow to the head organization in terms of making the head coach make a move. It's not that type of organization.
What is that? What is that? So you think he did that on his own?
Yeah, it's that type of organization. That owner, there's nobody in that front office who's going to be
they haven't been afraid of firing people.
Well, they'd rather do that than say like, okay, you need to step out. He's like, let me try something. Because soon the firing is coming.
Well, because I think the game management stuff, and we did go over this a little bit, I think it's just been so bad that he needs to show he actually does need to take a step out of it because he's losing the plot of the game. He can't do both. Some coaches can do both. He can't do both.
And I'll give him credit for that, but I want to go over to Houston. I mean, look, them getting rid of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which is a ballyhooed move. They're trying to clear the locker room again. That's why they changed out a lot of their offensive linemen. Like, we're not having certain types of players in this organization. Well, it ain't working. Whatever's going on at Houston, because their offensive line play has not been good. Remember, they hired Nick Caley. They put him with his boy, who he coached offense with in New England, and it is not looking good. C.J. Stroud looks, hey, they're trying to get me off the island. They're trying to make sure I'm not on quarterback island with the way they're protecting me here.
Dangerous for him on quarterback island.
I think it's
not
more than
good.
dangerous.
I
think he's bought his ticket and he's enjoying his remaining time there. Maybe it's less pressure to get.
But I mean, just no weapons. It's just offensively they are a mess. I think they win this game, but they may need this to get some momentum going and feel good about themselves, because right now, they're scratching their heads.
I think they have the Ravens next week too, so that you really don't want to be 0-4 going into the Ravens. We crashed out of our Survivor picks last week, and then last year when that happened early, I think it was the same week 3, we decided to make decisions.
Okay, so we got a team we're rolling with
as a group. Well, no, I'm just throwing out the possibility.
Yeah, which usually means he's already made the decision.
No.
I have a possibility to roll
we
out.
do work
well.
out. This one is it's a group decision. I would put forward the Texans, who are still 7-point favorites.
Yeah.
Getting right and defensively dominating enough to just win this game comfortably.
A game in the division after another loss on the road in the division in a season where the schedule and the Texans have struggled. The schedule has not been very nice
No.
to the Houston Texans to start the season. I'll present a case here in a little bit.
Okay, that's just it's just presented to the group. By the way, yeah, the Titans were on the other side of that Jarvis Brownlee trade because they're full of great. Not that he's great, but young talent.
Just loaded, right?
Makes sense.
New play caller in Tennessee. Here's a suggestion to fix things immediately. Stop throwing to Calvin Ridley. Like 8 catches, 21 targets, many of them drops. Like Cam Ward, throw to your young guys. Throw to the guys who
Do they have options though? They kind of need him. I'm with you. He's killed them the last couple weeks with drops, and they've had to defend him, both Cam Ward and Callahan. But he's also the best receiver on the roster by a decent amount. And who are those other young?
He's not playing like it. He's paid the highest, but he's not playing. But
he can move. He can separate. He can produce. Elikai Manor is basically a starter now, and they found someone as a 4th-round pick. Good pick. But it's not like they have any other options. They have a return.
Maybe they'll trade him to someone.
Like they have Chimere Dike is there as like a return guy. Tyler Lockett's maybe wasting some snaps. Maybe that's so. I hear you, Jourdan. I just don't know. Like the roster is not built for it. They need Calvin Ridley, or at least for another month.
They are
showcase him before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I agree because they are a year away from being a year away. I just look at this roster like, what is the plan? You got a quarterback, but what is the plan?
Seth Payne, we're big fans. We're Seth heads. He said he wanted to apologize because he felt like he bought all the lines about their offensive line that they would be greater than the sum of their parts, and you could just get a bunch of average guys together and coach them up. And he says he felt like he was like he went to Jonestown. He was drinking the Kool-Aid, and he apologized. They I can
hear his voice in my head saying that too.
They are last in points this season. They do not have a red zone touchdown. That's hard to do through 3 weeks. They hit that open play against Nico Collins last week. That's like kind of how they scored big plays. Last in 3rd down conversions. One positive, they ran it pretty well last week. It was a lot of cover 2 by the Jaguars trying to take away the big play, which didn't totally work, but they ran it pretty well. So that there's something for you.
The only thing I would do to hedge for them a little bit, the offensive line is bad. There are no excuses about that. They are bad. They are affecting the quarterback for the negative once again. Even the plays where C.J. Stroud, like he looks still uncomfortable, even when he has a modicum of blocking available to him. I think though that some of this is difficult to adjust to right at the start of the season when you're suddenly playing 2 rookie receivers and you have to play the 2 Iowa State guys early because you got injuries.
Right.
And then Joe Mixon, that situation. So it's like, okay, you're doing an entirely different run game for a different type of, for a different running back. Nick Chubb looked great in week 1, but there's just a lot of like late adjustments when if you're already dealing with an offensive line that is not good. This is a ripple effect that affects every skill player, every person on the offensive side. Yeah,
I've wondered if they would go back to Cam Robinson, Arante Ursary, who got a lot of pop in the preseason. They really thought they found something. He's been struggling, but you know what could fix? Just be a little bit of a slump buster.
There it is.
The Tennessee Titans.
There's always one.
Maybe the worst.
There's always one.
Maybe the worst edge rushing group in the league. They applied no pressure from the edge, so that is maybe a perfect matchup. Okay, just a consideration for our Survivor
I'd
pick.
do that.
We'll have another one coming up. Let's take a break, and we'll be back here to wrap up the AFC. Back on NFL Daily. That Jets-Dolphins, not the only Monday night game this week. Can you remember, and I'm going to test Steve Wyche here, the dean of NFL Network, any memorable Bengals-Broncos games in the history of the NFL? This is really putting you on the spot.
Oh, man, there's got to be,
I feel like there had to have been some good Boomer Esiason, John Elway games. Maybe like a Trevor Siemian, Andy Dalton game at some point. That was spicy.
Yeah, Jake Plummer.
I was just fishing in a barrel. I had nothing in mind in particular.
Nothing in mind, but there's got to be like a good Jake Plummer, Carson Palmer era.
Maybe not. This is I find it interesting. This is getting the Joe Buck eight treatment though. I like that they made the right choice.
The best choice, and I am will pander to my personal bias here. because up until 2005, Monday Night Football was on ABC. That's back when we used to get TVs that had ATSC tuners installed in them, and football was provided to the people of America free over the air, and it's back tonight. The Cincinnati Bengals and Jake Browning, who was apparently the greatest quarterback of all time before last week, at the Denver Broncos, who are 7.5-point favorites appropriately. The over-under is 44.5. The aforementioned Joe, Troy, Lisa, and Laura Rutledge on the call. As Jourdan, it was Bo Nix having a little bit of a rough one against the Chargers defense. What better opportunity to bounce back than the Cincinnati Bengals?
Yeah, Al Golden, kind of a tough start for the
Al got put in a rough situation.
The Lou Anarumo replacement there after Lou
how's that working out? I think Lou's doing okay these days.
Took the fall for the entire organization over there. I don't know that it gets any better for Gregg's boy, Jake Browning.
How is he my boy?
You were so excited about him last week.
I think he's a good example, though.
So excited about him.
I think he's a good example, and I don't even think this is a hot take. Like, he played better than Carson Wentz in that game. I think people that are killing him didn't go watch that game. He had one bad throw, and it was in the fourth quarter when it was 45-3. He didn't do anything. Neither quarterback did anything. But he had the same thing happen to him as the Patriots did, where they're just fumbling the ball away. And that first interception he had that Rodgers took back is like a diving deflection at the last second by Harrison Smith, where you're having to, like, stuff happens. And their offensive line stinks. Their running game is the worst in the NFL, and the defense is bad. Like, him and Carson Wentz were at the, I would say Browning
all the more reason why
better.
You shouldn't have been riding the Jake Browning train. It's a system around a backup quarterback. It's
a
not
long
just
season.
the quarterback.
It's a long
He's one of the better backups in the NFL, though, Jourdan.
Yes, and it is a low bar, Steve.
Low bar.
As we
Low
know.
bar.
Cincinnati, yes, you are right, Gregg. Historically bad run game. 2.4 yards per carry. It's the worst in the league, and Chase Brown is only above Ashton Jeanty in averaging negative yards before contact on every single rush. This is not good. If you have a backup in the game, you have to run the ball. You have to run the ball better. I don't think you do it necessarily against this Broncos team.
No.
Denver can't really run the ball either, but they might not have to worry about too much against the Cincinnati defense right now.
I'd try to run it, though.
You should.
Yeah.
You
At
should.
least
it's worth a few
against this team versus trying to
100%.
drop back and pass.
100% you should. And then, I also don't think that for Jake Browning, in terms of what he's going to be seeing and the types of pressure he's going to be facing, I don't think this gets any easier for him. Not only do you not have a run game if you're Cincinnati, you also can't really protect the backup quarterback here in this case.
No, I mean, they're going to get all over him. You got Pat Surtain out there. You got some guys in that secondary.
Nick Bonito's like third in the NFL in pressures right now.
He played incredible last week.
I mean, this is what 2 or 3 years in a row for Nick Bonito. That's why they paid him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's just that good. Vance Joseph can scheme up. He'll find one or two guys and scheme up the world for him, and then all of a sudden they get the confidence, and they're great. And he's got one on the D front, and he's got one with Bonito. So, yeah, I mean, Cincinnati, you got the extra day to prepare for this, but they're just so limited in so many ways. And the fact that their defense puts them in a situation where Jake Browning is probably going to have to be throwing the ball 40 times. It's not what you want to have when you're going on the road, to Denver on Monday night.
Yeah, and a chance in prime time for Bo Nix, who has been a little streaky, which is fair to say. In his second year playing in the NFL. And we've seen Bo hit those 3 passes that he missed that probably could have turned the game around in SoFi on Sunday, especially late last season when he got hot.
Man,
he was dropping everything into the bucket. And to have him start like this is a little bit of a reminder that sometimes these things do get a little up and down. But the fourth down aggressive calls from Sean Payton, like all those things are going to be there. The opportunity to run the ball is going to be there, where it's just, and not to because I just celebrated the fact that a national audience gets to see this over the air. While we still
it could be competitive. I would take the Bengals just because I never like giving that. I don't like making anyone that big a favor that hasn't been playing good football, and the Broncos haven't been playing good football. They've been
consistent on offense.
Very sloppy, and their defense has been good. It hasn't been like it was a year ago. I mean, they basically got, run up on by the Colts, and they gave up big-time drives against the Chargers. Chargers are a good team, but it's not like they've been
teams that are playing
dominant.
Offensively some of the best football in the NFL.
No question that they've had a hard schedule in terms of their defense. And sometimes you look at this Bengals team and they're not built to lose Joe Burrow because they signed and paid a lot of money and used draft picks to have a good pass protecting offensive line. And so then they're out of shotgun and it's not under center. And then now they're suddenly under center and they're trying to run it. And it's just like a bad team build. He's been hit before the line of scrimmage. Chase Bound, by the way, 76% of the time, which would, of course, be the all-time record in the history of the NFL.
Oh my God!
We know he's a good player.
Too. He's been talking about it.
Yeah, we know he's a good player. So that probably doesn't turn around.
76% of the touches,
but I don't know. It could
beyond historic.
Oh
Last
yeah,
week,
it's historically bad.
Who did he make mad?
Like that. That's a whole series. You go out, you get the ball, you jog back to the sideline.
That's all you need.
Never
one series
any
to
day
get tagged like that.
Bo Nix, by the way, almost made QB Island. Was one spot away. I don't think he's going to make it.
Oh, we got a bunch of guys who are dropping off. There might be some space. I got time to rally. We're only.
I don't think he's going to make it. Yeah, you mentioned Jourdan, who's getting targeted more the last couple weeks than he has pretty much in his whole career. So that's something interesting in this game. I don't know. I think they'll be frisky. Our crack producer, by the way, brought up a fun Bengals-Broncos game before we move on. The Brock Osweiler game. Okay.
The Brock.
No. Yes. Oh, do you guys know my Brock Osweiler story?
Needing a win for, we'll hear it in a second. Needing a win to get a bye and playing without Andy Dalton, A.J. McCarron goes into Denver, gets a big-time lead, trying to get that bye for the Bengals. And who comes in but Brock Osweiler? They benched Peyton freaking Manning.
Yes.
They benched Peyton Manning. And Brock Osweiler comes in there and leads a big comeback victory. It honestly was kind of the game that felt like kick-started their Super Bowl championship season.
It got him, didn't it get him paid? Didn't that get him paid?
It helped to get him paid.
He went to Cleveland.
Yeah.
Peyton was injured, by the way.
They've never paid quarterbacks.
He did not get benched in that game. He got injured. There was a game later where they tried to bring in Brock, and Peyton famously was like, "You stay on the sidelines. You're not
because he was the up and comer.
Him?
He was gonna usurp Peyton Manning at that point because Brock Osweiler was the future.
They were going off of how tall someone was. Yeah.
Tall.
He was very tall.
Very nice guy, too.
That was
Peyton's tall.
Super nice guy. In college, so I went to Arizona State. He also played football at Arizona State. Go Devils. And do you guys remember the movie Signs?
Sure.
Yes.
Like the one shot that
one of the most disappointing experiences I've ever had at the movie theater.
The one shot that freaked everybody out across the universe was when the alien walks and it's like long, walks in front of the camera shot all of a sudden and turns to the side. There's a lot of construction at Arizona State when I went there, and I was driving my car pretty fast around a corner. He was coming out of the training room. There was a big barricade.
Come on.
I swerve. I basically drift to avoid this like long, gangly thing walking across this. It scared me the same as that alien walking across the freaking TV screen. Sorry, Brock, if you're listening. I don't know why I pointed to the sky.
He is still with us.
Brock's still with us. And M. Night Shyamalan's still making movies, unfortunately, for a lot of people. New Orleans at Buffalo. The final game of our AFC preview. The Buffalo Bills on this sheet of paper. This is wiggling right now. 16.5. That number is subject to some alteration.
I'm about to right now. I'm taking the Saints to cover. I'm taking the Saints to cover.
Is that real?
As time goes on.
Oh my God.
The over-under is 48.5. Andrew Catalon, Charles Davis, Jason McCourty, and A.J. Ross. Gregg Rosenthal. I submit this as a potential
I guess we're
survivor game.
Yeah, I guess we're starting from scratch. I don't know if we use
I picked
the
this
Bills.
I picked this one.
I guess if we want to, just be safe about it. I just felt good. We're not going to want the Texans any other time of the year.
There's also the game we just discussed with the Denver Broncos.
No, I would not take that one. I would not trust this Broncos team that much. I would trust the Texans.
You trust the Texans more?
Yes, I would.
Are you taking the points?
Because of their opponent. This is the biggest spread for the Saints in 30 years. They're struggling. Their defense, man, this is going to be a difficult one for them. I would submit, though, because people are asking for Tyler Shuck, that Spencer Rattler is the best part of this team.
Who's asking for Tyler Shuck?
Throwing it around a little bit.
People in New Orleans, a little bit, people nationally.
Is it Mickey Loomis?
If you look at their DVOA rankings, for instance, on defense, it's bad against the run, it's bad against the pass, it's pretty bad. Their running game has been stuck in neutral. Their passing game is 18th through 19th. You watch this team and they're great at hitting 9-yard throws and having long field goal drives. That is not a path to go win, but Spencer Rattler's doing okay despite it all.
Yeah, I mean,
A little bit of positivity.
I mean, you're not putting Tyler Shuck in this game
Fair.
because Spencer Rattler, he's going to have 40, 45 attempts.
This might be the easiest defense they've faced for what it's worth.
Yeah.
I'm not really buying the Bills defense.
I've been worried about
Yeah.
the Bills defense from the jump. They are shaky on all three levels, especially after Ed Oliver was dealing with the injury.
How about that? Yeah,
They are shaky on all three levels, and they have been since that Jets game. And no, the Jets never looked quite the same again. But I think that tells you a lot about the Bills' defense.
Yeah, I mean, at corner, at safety, you can say a linebacker, they're not complete. But the Saints right now, I mean, if they can stay competitive for a half, I think they cover. But they just seem you talked about it, their defense is terrible. I mean, we knew this was coming. We saw this coming. We knew this was going to be this type of season for the Saints. Especially once Derek.
And they were right there in the first 2 weeks, really. They had chances to win both of those games, to be fair.
Yeah.
Better than I expected on both sides against the Cardinals, honestly. Like, the Cardinals played with their food, almost let them back into that game. I mean, I just have no expectations for the Saints. I have high expectations for the Bills this season. I can't understand why they're at 61.5% third down conversion rate for their opposing.
In terms of allowing.
allowing
Yeah,
it
it's not good.
for the opposing offense.
Alvin Kamara's run into more light boxes than almost anybody in the league right now. The Saints are kind of one-handed with in terms of how teams are approaching them, and the Buffalo Bills are one of the in terms of running light boxes, 6 or fewer defenders in the bottom half of the league in that. So I'm wondering how McDermott's going to deploy this unit against this group where it's pretty much we have to spread you out and pass the ball because we can't do anything else.
They've put so many research. There's a lot of reasons why I think Mickey Loomis has passed his expiration date. But number one is all they've done is invested in the offensive line over and over and over again. And it's still a major weakness. Cesar Ruiz is on a second contract.
I was looking at some of the Cesar Ruiz numbers in terms of pass block win rate and run block win rate. And I was like, excuse me, what?
He's one of the worst starters in the league, but the high picks at tackle, Kelvin Banks looks like he'll be fine.
But what does that tell you? Is that the individual player?
No, that's coaching, organization, changing plans. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of that. When you see good players or talented guys or upstarts not develop or come up with real disparaging numbers like that, that's just the overall functionality of the coaching staff or whatever working hand in hand with one another.
Or it's like the front office having too much say of like, wait, we got to make this Cesar Ruiz, pick that everyone's been dogging us for look good after he has a halfway decent season and overpay him and then make him stay in the lineup for 3 more years.
That is not a front office that dictates personnel. Sean Payton ran that building for a long time.
I'm definitely talking the Dennis Allen and now the Kellen Moore days. And Kellen Moore, there's just been a couple game management things. It's early.
He'll get there. Yeah, he's going to be fine.
For some reason, when I hear like the fact that he made them all go on a big boat ride, they went out to Seattle early to get some like team bonding. For some reason, that makes me dislike Kellen Moore's approach more.
Why?
I don't know why.
Anti-boat, Greg?
The threat of a social activity.
Is this an OBJ Victor Cruz?
It's just like a lot of
the threat of a social
I've
activity.
just heard a lot about team bonding here with the Saints. Can we get some like tactical advantages? That's all.
I mean, it works when you've got like dudes who are 13 years into their careers.
Greg loves the 504.
Shout out
open
to
secret.
Speaking of, shout out to Tulane grad Dorian Williams, who I think's played very well for the Buffalo Bills at linebacker the last couple of weeks. And you mentioned like how will they attack it? They have played way heavier defenses this year than previous years with Sean McDermott. It's not all nickel and dime like usual. So he's trying to figure things out, and you can do that when you have the best quarterback or the second best quarterback in the league.
Just try stuff on defense because you're going to score 35 points.
The quarterback's going to bail you out.
It's fine.
It'll be fine. I do give Josh Allen all the credit in the world that I think like you don't know which version of him you're going to see in a different week because he can beat you in like any different kind of. I think he's smarter than he
It just
he
looks
has ever
so
been.
easy now. Like him and Lamar just looks too easy for them to play.
It looks easy for you, Wyche. No one does a better job here. And just make it look seamless. You're not joining us for the NFC. You famously hate the NFC, so we're gonna say goodbye.
Hate them.
No, Steve has a lot of things going on in the building. We will say goodbye to him, and we will be right back and preview all those NFC games. Welcome to NFL Daily, where it really didn't pay off to be a Baker Mayfield doubter for all those years. Like, I've given up. It's over. We have one of the best rivalries in the league.
We did it.
I'm Gregg Rosenthal. We're in the Chris Wesseling Podcast Studio. Hopefully you listened to part 1 of this week's preview, the AFC, but we're here in the NFC, and it includes a matchup, Eagles-Bucks. There's a lot to get to in this one. That includes one of my favorite rivalries in the NFL, and that's Todd Bowles versus Jalen Hurts. It really has been kind of a through line over the last 4 years.
Yeah, just sending human bodies flying at Jalen Hurts has been successful for Todd Bowles. And it was actually an interesting discussion on Fantasy Live today because our producer, Alex Wilk, is a big Rams fan. Randomly, the December 8th Baker Mayfield Thursday Night Football game came up. He said that was one of the best 10 games in the Sean McVay era, which caused me to lose my mind. And it's been an argument all day. But yeah, randomly.
Why? Because the rest of the game until that final drive was kind of boring, or why? Or there's just been so many good moments. Why did it make you so mad?
Yeah, because there's been so many great Rams moments in the Sean McVay era that the 17-point performance on Thursday Night Football when Baker Mayfield did what Josh Dobbs did twice with 2 different teams somehow becomes the thing that we remember.
Who knows? Who would guess that he'd be the hater?
Do you know what I bet Eagles fans really love right now?
What's that?
That we're talking about Sean McVay.
Yeah.
In the middle of the Eagles-Bucks block.
The Eagles pulled that off, and they bring all of those positive vibes, Greg, into this game. 3.5-point favorites against, let's be honest, a hurt Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that is very fortunate to be at 3-0. 49.5 is the over-under. Kevin Burkhardt, Tom Brady, and Aaron Andrews on the call. Do they pull this off?
I would doubt it, but doubting the Bucks has not been profitable.
Not been the recipe.
It's not been the way to get your picks right. The injury situations, I think we should just go over going into the weeks because it is so
massive,
crucial for both of these teams. First, let's start with the surprising news, which is that Nolan Smith, the Eagles' edge, is going on injured reserve. That came out of nowhere. At least as far as I know. And I think they've been a little short on their edge pass rushing this season. Even last week against the Rams, it wasn't great. So
Fangio's blitzing more.
That hurts. We mentioned Mike Evans is going to be out for 3 or 4 weeks. Chris Godwin was seen at practice. Even if he did return, it's hard to imagine, him having a massive impact right away, but he might be back, and Tristan Wirfs might be back. It's too early in the week for him to know.
They're so injured, and that's why I've, in part, been so impressed with what the Bucs have sort of willed themselves to do. I don't know if it works out for them this week. I think the Eagles are just this, avalanche that just smothers people once they actually put it all together and get over sort of the slow start situations. And they just are this, monolithic presence to me of how they're built and the way that they can overwhelm you at almost every single position on the field. But you guys know this. I love the Bucs. I've had so much fun watching the Bucs for a couple of years now, but really these last 3 games because it's just been, first of all, Emeka Egbuka has looked amazing. Second of all, and he's been banged up too. I mean, I would not call him fully healthy right now, even despite the fact that he's been producing. I love their run game. I love their run defense, which right now is number 1 in the NFL right now. Best defensive success rate against the run right now. They're forcing unsuccessful rushes at nearly a 74% rate, allowing just 3.6 yards per carry. That's really cool coming into a Saquon Barkley, Jalen Hurts game. I think this is going to be a battle. I think this is going to be like a scratching, clawing, long nails fight. And this is going to be fun. But I don't know that the Bucs are healthy enough to sustain 4 quarters of a fight like that.
And considering their health, I was shocked to find out there's actually 2 teams that have blitzed more defensive backs than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers this season. Somehow, especially after seeing everybody fly at the ball in that last game, including Antoine Winfield Jr., who's back to being one of the better players in the NFL. But I think they have to. I think they have to, and I think that changes the script a little bit for Philadelphia because in all that post-game just euphoria where both Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown are talking about how aggressive they should be. I don't know if this is the opportunity to start off the game like that. Maybe you kind of build towards that and you pick and choose your spots because the Bucs are going to be blitzing, and I think they're going to be blitzing heavy.
But knowing going into the game that a mismatch is Saquon Barkley versus a defense, and that the mismatch is that you're expecting Saquon Barkley to get shut down is such a strange place for the Eagles to be. And I think it's gotten lost in the predictable Kevin Patullo and A.J. Brown situation. Like, they're not a good running team right now, and they're not getting explosives. He's averaging 3.3 yards per carry. It's not like we think Saquon Barkley, we've talked about it a lot on these previews, is suddenly a bad running back, but the running game is just not the same. It does sound like Lane Johnson will probably be back this week.
Yeah.
But even that, I don't think was like the reason that they've struggled. It's been for 3 weeks.
Yeah, I mean, we're for those watching on YouTube, as soon as you were having this discussion, there was a rep where Cam Jurgens is 3 yards deep in the backfield, and the Rams are there, and Saquon literally has nowhere to go. Like, the strength of this unit isn't what we expected it to be coming in.
It's below average success rate, and going up against that Bucs team, you kind of figure they have to be a pass first team. Yeah,
surprisingly. I mean, I know. Like, when I think of Todd Bowles' defense, he's had good run defenses. Like, every once in a while, he'll pop out with like this insane run defense.
He has
right?
some of the best run defenses in the history of the NFL.
Exactly.
As a coordinator and as a coach.
But when I think of him and how he's adjusted and evolved in a passing league, he's become the guy who sends the gnarly blitzes at you, right? And has no regard for human life while doing it. But this Todd Bowles team, this defense, where, they had so many issues last year with injuries on defense and tackling on defense and just holes where there just should not have been holes. They are playing physically, fundamentally sound. I wouldn't say that this is the best defense or even a top 5 defense when you look at pound for pound in the NFL, but they're playing smart. They're playing physically, and it starts up front with what he's built specifically in stopping the run game these first 3 weeks.
There's only one Vita Vea. And I think people have
or
really
a farmer, Vita Vea,
slept on
amazing.
like the Yaya Diaby breakout has been quiet because it's just been like a slow improvement.
You guys won't get that reference.
I do.
Oh, thanks, Patrick.
What is it from? Come on.
Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood.
Oh.
I thought you were referencing the Beyonce song.
Oh, also a great reference. Yeah.
That makes more sense. Either one works. He's turned into a guy that
somehow I'm younger than both of you guys.
Consistently
I
gets
just
pressure.
brought up that movie.
I mean, I would that's
Sorry.
you're not hitting the right demo there. I thought the sequel was better. Sister Pants 2.
Sister Pants 2.
There really was.
Sister Pants 2.
You're looking at me like there wasn't a sequel. There was definitely a sequel. It was great. So this is a sequel to a lot of these Hurts versus Bowles matchups.
Second half of a trilogy where the I think of the Sister Pants. We saw with Kellen Moore coming in and the adjustments to pressure kind of being solved. And I think other than like Jared Verse blasting Jalen Hurts to the extent where I was concerned he was going to be able to stay in the game.
Yeah, with Lane Johnson not in at that time. Yeah.
Where the Eagles dealing with pressure, like we really get to see, this is our first chance to see like post Kellen Moore if the pressure plan is there and if it's ready. And then on the other side, Vic Fangio, we've seen Quinyon move around a little bit more this year. And I think that is out of necessity because Jacorian Bennett, when he's on the field, he's been in coverage 20 times. He's been targeted 10 times. Like, quarterbacks are seeing, and a lot of it's throwing the ball away from Quinyon, but they're seeing free money elsewhere in the secondary where it wasn't like that in previous years.
No question. And like, I do think this is just a team coming together. It's amazing that they figured out how to win this game. But I do think that last week, I do think it is a matchup problem. So, because I was so confident thinking about this game, like, of course, the Eagles are going to win. Like, it really, like, Todd Bowles really is a problem for Jalen Hurts. The one game that they won, which everyone then was like, okay, maybe they really did solve it. Like, he threw a couple picks in that game, and it was mostly a defensive game. Last year, their worst game of the season that helped turn their season around, like in a like it was a negative game, is they got blasted by the Bucs. He has been blitzed on 46.7% of the snaps against Todd Bowles. He's been better, Hurts, this year, like when he's not blitzed, just like normal. It's kind of back to normal. And he's going to have to put on his big sister pants and get it going in this game. You know? I mean, Jordan's just laughing at me while I'm talking. They've never really solved it, is my final answer.
Do the pants still travel in the second movie?
Sister pants too.
I never saw it, but I think it was just kind of mocked that it even had a sequel. It's just like one of those movies that gets used as a punchline, which I think is frankly unfair and sexist.
Yeah, it is, definitely. Talking about our society.
Schedule luck, by the way, for the Eagles. I mean, they're getting the Bucs at the right time. If you're going to play the Bucs, I think it's right now, except for the heat. It's supposed to be 91 degrees there. It actually, I believe, was a pretty big factor at the end of that game. Like Hassan Reddick, guys were cramping up. Like last week in Tampa, like you could almost see like the defensive players, especially, lose their steam. And the Eagles are going there early. I don't know if that'll solve things, Patrick, but they're going there early to acclimate themselves to this explosive.
The big climatization look at this game. I'm looking forward to it. Just a fun matchup of unbeaten teams, and you want to talk about a hot football team. Let's discuss Daniel Jones and the Indianapolis Colts at the Los Angeles Rams, who were favored.
This might be the game of the week.
3.5 points. The over-under is 49.5. This game is the one with Kevin Kugler, Moose Johnston, and Allison Williams as Jourdan. The Rams coming off a heartbreaker, and the Indianapolis Colts just smooth, easy ride through the NFL season. How does it go?
It's wild to me that this might be the game of the week. This week, it might be one of the best games of the season so far, which we certainly, looking at the schedule when the schedule came out, where none of us were thinking. My big concern is the book is kind of out on how to beat the Rams this season, and it is to throw at the perimeter. If you can get blocked up in time, they have a big weak spot at cornerback. Akella Witherspoon is out. He's on IR with the clavicle injury. And what the Rams did this year in kind of staying pat at corner, and yeah, they've brought in some maybe less heralded free agency tries, guys who worked out for them, all of that. They did workouts for them earlier in the week, but it's Emmanuel Forbes who's banged up coming out of that Eagles game. It's Kobe Durant, and it's Darius Williams, who was benched earlier this season. And what they did in standing pat at a lot of their positions was expecting Emmanuel Forbes to take a step forward, which I think he did. I mean, being banged up stinks for him, but like I do think he did take a step forward. And also to depend on their pass rush to get home quicker than the quarterback was comfortable actually throwing in high volume to the perimeter. If Daniel Jones, with all of the weapons that they have on offense, not just a tight end who can scheme into space and really attack this Rams secondary, but also with the perimeter weapons they have, they're so deep at receiver. This could be a real problem for the Rams, especially if the Colts offensive line, which is a strength in my opinion, can block up well enough to at least make it so it's not quick pressure coming at Daniel Jones and he can get the ball out.
And Lou Anarumo would hear that and say, like, that's nice and all. I got to come up with a plan with my cornerbacks. Travarius Ward is back in the mix, but Xavier Howard, who I just signed off the street, maybe my best cornerback, Kenny Moore, is not going to be available in this game, which is a big loss. Like, they lost a couple of their players in the secondary, including a starter, so they might have Mekhi Blackman out there. And we got to go up against Devontae Adams and Puka Nacua. So to your point about it being the game of the week, like points, I feel like it definitely could be a points game because I think it's a big time test to see where the Colts are at offensively. Yeah. Again, they have played the Broncos and they performed quite well. But it's also a test, I think. I'm not so sure about this Colts defense, which right now they're ranked pretty high. Both these defenses are, ranked better than average. Not one of the best defense in the league, but better than average. It's a big test to see where this Colts defense is at because I'm not sure. I need to see a little more.
Yeah, in terms of the personnel, there's a reason for that concern with the Colts defense, but Coach Anarumo has had them executing at a very high level. And, again, justice for Lou being the theme of the 2025 season overall. But over on the offensive side, it's tough to make a case that anybody's playing better offensively than Jonathan Taylor in the entire league. And coming off a game where they gave Saquon and the Eagles that amount of problems up front. I think we'll learn a little bit more about the fronts of all these teams by how they're able to attack this unit, because all the things Daniel Jones is doing right now are all predicated off of that run game, and they've been successful. I'm also looking at Tyler Warren's toe to try to see if that was, hey, we're up against this Titans team that's kind of struggling. Their coach is doing weird things. We don't need you to play in the fourth quarter because we got the Rams next week, or this toe is an issue. We're going to have this versatile rookie tight end sit out because this toe is a problem. I'm concerned about Tyler Warren.
Yeah, that's a great point, too, because the Rams went from the worst rushing defense in the NFL last year, or among the worst rushing defenses in the NFL last year, to now they're about midway in terms of defensive success rate against the run. And I think that's Poona Ford, obviously, that's Nate Landman, but it's also guys like Kobe Turner, Braden Fisk, who's been a little banged up as well. Just this young group getting better, and then them adding players where they need to. The biggest worry, like I said, I have about this Rams team is their perimeter corners. Their safeties are good too. They make plays on the ball. Chris Shula likes to blitz with Jalen McCullough quite a bit, and that's something for Daniel Jones to have to look out for as well. And on the opposite side, I really worry about this interior offensive line for the Rams. This is where they've invested draft picks, they've invested money, and Steve Avila and Kevin Dotson have been banged up, and they have not been available to them. Kevin Dotson in and out of games the last couple of weeks, and that's really bad. That was a swing in the Eagles game, not just up front, because Matthew Stafford was getting a lot of quick pressure. He was making mistakes. Vic Fangio was throwing creepers at him, which Matthew Stafford clearly did not expect to see. Zach Bond showing pressure pre-snap and then actually dropping into coverage. Matthew Stafford threw the ball right to him as if he expected Zach Bond to actually have been blitzing. Those types of things, when you're insecure with your front, especially with your interior front, that's going to throw a veteran quarterback off, and especially with that quick pressure coming the way that it is. And it was clearly a factor on special teams, too.
It's a tough matchup, too, for their interior offensive line, because you have DeForest Buckner, you have Grover Stewart up there, like veterans, but they still get it done. These two teams are kind of mirror images because they both have run defenses. Like, they're good, but they're not great. They're like average, and they're two great running games. Actually, the NFL leader in success rate in terms of running the ball right now is the Los Angeles Rams. Kyron Williams, just you need 5 yards, I'm going to give you 6. You need 4 yards, I'll give you 5. And then Blake Corum has looked really good. So it's a lot of similarities. It's big time weapons, and it's two just gunslingers at quarterback making it happen. Matthew Stafford and Danny Dimes. That was supposed to be like a tongue in the cheek, a little bit. Maybe no.
I picked up on that.
No Alec Pierce, most likely this week. He is in the concussion protocol. So you mentioned, their problems on the outside. He is their best outside, pure receiver, and so that is a big loss if the Colts don't have him. Man, sometimes schedule luck is like, it's all when you like, do you get the Jake Browning Bengals or do you get the Joe Burrow Bengals? Do you get, this might be the right week where you're just missing two of their best players for the Colts for just 1 week, and then Moore and Pierce are back in a week.
Alec Pierce, the best field stretcher in the NFL, and it's not even close. Like, he's ahead of Jamison Williams in yards per reception by 4 yards.
Okay, I want to bring up, that is crazy. And it's for his career. It's at the point now whenever, and it's pretty rare whenever he catches a short pass, I'm like, oh, you're going to ruin, I don't want to ruin the average.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you would go see those, receivers on the Chargers in the 70s, and they'd average, 20 yards per catch for their whole career. And you'd be like, man, that would have been a crazy NFL to watch. I want that. That's what Alec Pierce does. Before we move on, I do just want to mention how the Rams have been approaching the kickoffs. Maybe more than any team, it's been successful. The method of line driving the kick into the landing zone. And I want to read where the Eagles started their drives against the Rams after kickoffs. Okay. The 20-yard line, the 9-yard line, the 14-yard line, the 10-yard line, and the 21-yard line. A lot of what we thought was great defense and the Rams dominating that game was about the special teams, because that really helped the Rams get those field goal drives. Special teams is so big, and you're seeing this more around the NFL. It hasn't changed the average line of scrimmage because enough kicks are still going into the end zone. But the whole league is different right now. It's only about 20% in terms of touchbacks, and last year it was 65. I mean, it's totally different, and I think it's going to keep changing. But teams like the Rams are getting a huge advantage.
Yeah, that's Stanford engineering grad Josh Carty, who's working with an oblong ball. And who'd have thought an oblong ball moves around real weird if you kick it a certain way. Same thing happening in Carolina. They're experimenting with some of those wobbly line drives as well. That's been a point of emphasis for a couple of teams throughout the league. And it is a factor for field position matters so much. We've seen it with punting for years. And I think we're starting to celebrate. We started to celebrate punting more, rightfully so, when you've got people pinning teams back. And now you're starting to see this a little bit with the kickoff as well.
I'm trying to get the numbers because we have the numbers of the average line that teams are starting at and what the numbers are for kickoffs overall. I want the number of what is the average of the ball that lands in the landing zone and is returned out, because it feels like it's like the 20, which is a huge difference, or even before. But the overall kickoff numbers are actually about the same as a year ago. So scoring is actually up, like yards are down because the field position's shrunk. It's a lot going on, but it really shows there's advantages to be had for some teams.
Yeah, because the whole set, and if you think about it as an offensive play, it becomes a bad snap in that instance. And you're having to take your eye off the ball. The timing is changed up. Your blockers don't necessarily know where you are. And yeah, it leads us to having positive kick trajectory discussion for the Rams in the game against the Eagles, where the kick trajectory discussion could go in a different way.
I felt like we haven't had any kickoff talk on our shows somehow. Shout out to Jason Kleinman, who was texting me all about the kickoffs last Sunday while I was working.
Good stuff. A positive memory for Rams fans as we get. Well, actually, it's time for satisfying matchups presented by Snickers. Sunday Night Football. The Green Bay Packers favored by 7 in a revenge game. The Dallas Cowboys playing host to them. 47.5 is the over-under. It's Sunday Night Football, so it's Mike, Chris Collinsworth, Melissa Stark, Coach Dungy, Mike Tirico. Michael Florio, the other one. Chris Sims, the whole NBC crew. As Jourdan, the Dallas Cowboys have a need at edge rusher.
They do.
And he's playing against them on Sunday night.
Yes. The game that all of us had circled on our calendars. The second that Jerry Jones made that trade to the Green Bay Packers. Micah Parsons, the revenge game. It's finally here. But don't call it a revenge game because he is still really cares about a lot of people in that building. But it's a revenge game. Do you like my Gregg impression?
Oh, that was I thought you were just excited.
I am excited.
I like the enthusiasm.
I like when you do Gregg voice.
I mean, it's not intentional. I feel like we needed this game. It's almost too soon.
Yeah.
It's like we need the Cowboys to be in better shape. We need CeeDee Lamb to be playing in this game.
I need is Jerry Jones sitting up in the owner's box looking on. I need a million shots cutting to him. And I need Micah Parsons to do exactly what he's been doing for these last couple of weeks, which is rank 5th in the NFL in pressures right now, despite playing 20 fewer snaps than others even around him in that area of pressure. And, cut to Jerry,
Well, we've already had Jerry come out and say, and hopefully nobody in the media production unit at the Star was working on a Micah tribute video because Jerry has said they're not going to play it.
Don't put on the internet that I'm mad.
If there is one. And Coach Schottenheimer doing what he's done all offseason is answer questions about Micah Parsons.
I think at the end of the day, our guys all know Micah. And again, I hope because they know him, but guess what? He knows us. And he knows, he knows the way they set. So, look, Mike is a great player. Mike is going to make plays. I'll just put that out there. Like, Mike is going to make plays. Does he get a sack? Shit, I hope not. But he might. He's pretty good.
I really like
undermines
Schottenheimer. He's just so chill.
Parsons said it's going to be painful to sack Dak Prescott if that happens.
I believe him.
There were some whispers about, were the two leaders of the Cowboys like always on the same page? Or was Dak like standing up to try to keep Micah? Not that that's his role. Not that it made any impact whatsoever, I believe. It's just depressing. And I saw some Packers fans be frustrated last week after that game. Like, oh, we need more production. Like Micah Parsons making a lot of money. It's like he won his matchup so quickly, so often. They were winning up front. They played outstanding defensively against the Browns, who just had that 5-yard touchdown drive, or else none of it would have mattered. And the only reason that they didn't rack up sacks is because Joe Flacco did a great job just getting rid of the ball when he had no chance, because he's a veteran quarterback. I don't think Dak Prescott will be like Joe Flacco. He will hang in there and he will try to make plays because he wants to win this game, obviously, and he knows the only chance that he has is to hang in there and just hope that his guys like George Pickens can step up and get open. Their offense, it's a good offense, and it's a borderline great running team.
It is a great running team right now. They're number 1 in rushing success rate through the first 3 weeks. It's incredible. And number 7 in rushing EPA, and that's an EPA that subtracts any scrambles by the quarterback or designed runs by the quarterback. So it's super impressive what Brian Schottenheimer and Clayton Adams and Javonte Williams are doing over there. However, we did lose a Tyler, folks. We lost a Tyler Booker, headed to injured reserve, probably. Ankle injury, and there's no CD. So I really think
there's no Cooper Beebe, which I think is a huge loss.
Yeah, and I think they're we've talked so much on this show about opening scripts and game plans and showing coaches who love to show their personality. In this case, I also think owners who like to show their personality through what the team tries to go out and do. So I definitely think the Cowboys are going to try to run the crap out of the ball, and I think they're going to try to prove Jerry right in the sense of Micah Parsons' run defense. By the way, he's a great run defender, so good luck with that. And I think that's what you're going to see very early on. That is, in fairness, that is the Cowboys' key strength right now, is the way they're running the ball.
Yeah, being able to run the ball and also having a quarterback that does have all the answers.
Yeah.
And those answers are a whole lot easier when 88's out there. Now you need Jalen Tolbert to get wins against Keyshawn Nixon, who's had a great season in the Packers secondary. The Packers defense did everything they possibly could last week, short of a handful of plays, to get a win that was honestly pretty fluky for the Cleveland Browns. And so it's a lot on Dak. But at this point in his career, you believe that he can do that. But it's just you add it all
Not in this
up.
matchup. Not with CeeDee Lamb out. Not with Tyler Booker out.
And also, even before CeeDee Lamb being out, the Green Bay's limiting explosive plays, both run and pass, better than any other team in the league right now. And they're number 1 in scoring, and they're number 2 in defensive EPA per drive. This is a badass defense. And
right,
I'm sorry,
and it would have been such a good matchup.
And you said at the beginning, fans are you've seen people complaining. That annoys me.
Just after
this is one of the best defenses in the NFL right now.
Everyone was frustrated. I heard
that's annoying.
A radio call. People were really mad. They were much more mad about Jordan Love and Matt LaFleur. People calling for Matt LaFleur's head. It's just
what?
They were so mad about that loss. They just believe they eat the cheese, pun intended. That you can't lose a game like the Browns. That there must be some crime against humanity. But the Browns have one of the best defenses in the league too. It happens. The more interesting.
Everyone gets Schwartzed from time to time.
Yeah, and. The Cowboys defense at this point is just so bereft of hope and talent and answers that can they solve the Packers run offense, by the way? Because the Packers offensive line was embarrassed last week. Now they're almost as banged up as the Cowboys. We'll see if they get their starters back this week, but they lost Zach Tom and Aaron Banks during the game last week. They were completely dominated by Cleveland. That's why they couldn't throw the ball. And they haven't run the ball all 3 weeks. So the Cowboys have solved what ails basically every offense that they've faced so far. Can they do that again for the Packers and have the Packers cover this 7 points? I tend to think yes. And that's why it's another good survivor option, by the way. Pretty good.
Sister Pants 3.
We'll have to decide.
Yeah, we'll have to text Steve about that one. I'm gonna lobby for my very safe pick.
Steve's not here right now,
wow.
We're just making decisions. Let's take a quick break. We're going to be back on the other side to wrap up our mega preview of Week 4. Back on NFL Daily. It's time. It's time for some international games.
The NFL International Games return to NFL Network on Sunday. 6 games, 4 cities, Dublin, London, Berlin, and Madrid. Snooze off. Game on for Sunday morning football, only on NFL Network. Also streaming with NFL Plus. Subscription required for NFL Plus. Visit plus.nfl.com for terms. But over here in Los Estados Unidos, we have the Los Angeles Chargers 6.5-point favorites over the now Jackson Dart-led New York Giants. The over-under is 43.5. Kevin Harlan, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins on the call, so you know it's special. Jourdan, does Jackson Dart solve all of the issues of the New York Giants and keep everybody's job?
Wow, what a big task for Jackson Dart. It's interesting. So this was the right move. At any point in the season, I think there was some debate over, do you do it now against one of the better defenses, if not the best defense in the NFL right now, in the Los Angeles Chargers? Really, the hinge point for this to me was if there was enough of a bad Russell Wilson performance, and B, Andrew Thomas coming back. Having Andrew Thomas back is such a significant boost for the Giants. I still think this is an incredibly challenging outing because I think, and I am not afraid to say it, I'm a little afraid to say it, but I think the Chargers are the best team in football right now.
Wow, I would be afraid of saying that ever.
For pound, every single phase, offense, defense, special teams, when you combine all of the collective together, to me, it's them, and the Detroit Lions. Because just the way that they are dominating teams, you're not necessarily, if you watch the games, if you're not necessarily seeing it in terms of scoring points, and you're seeing a lot of yards put up, and it's a very Harbaugh-y feeling where it's like sometimes it feels kind of slow and churning, but all of it is there. And this defense is exciting. Even with Khalil Mack gone, the way that Jesse Minter is designing pressure and the way that he is deploying his coverages is special. And I think that this is going to be more of a back-to-front defensive challenge for Jackson Dart than it is a front-to-back defensive challenge.
It's funny because if ever there was a game Russell Wilson would be more useful for, it might be against the Chargers, who the reputation is Minter keeps a lid on those big plays. But this year, actually, there's been a lot of open receivers down their field. There's been plays to be had. Bo Nix missed them. Patrick Mahomes missed them. They didn't really get to him in that Raiders game. And I do worry. First of all, I always worry as a quasi-Chargers fan when things are going too well that things are going to suddenly not. But
They've almost chargered in back-to-back games, and they didn't charger.
No, they did the opposite, where they played their best.
That's what I'm saying.
Clutch. It is kind of amazing. I think they'll win this game, but that's a lot of. It's difficult to know what to expect out of Jackson Dart. But on the other side, for the first time this year, last week, I thought, man, they missed Rashawn Slater because the right side of that offensive line was getting caved in over and over. Joe Alt and Zion Johnson maybe had one bad play each or whatever. They were fine. But the other side was getting worked over pretty good. And now you go against a Giants defensive line that could create problems. And the Chargers have not been a good running team this year. Overall, they got a little better last week, but that hasn't been consistent. So
I see
I'm kind of feeling the vibes.
I see the vision, though.
I'm feeling the vibes on the Giants side for this week with Jackson Dart just making this a fun game. It is amazing how inserting Jackson Dart into this game makes it one of the games of the week, to me.
Yeah, it definitely ups the interest, and I am on board as being skeptical that Jackson Dart is going to solve all the franchise problems that they've had over the last few years, but it does bring back the RPO that Brian Daboll had so much success with Josh Allen. And with Russ, running these RPOs and targeting in the middle of the field, and Jameis eating W's in the preseason, and all that fun stuff that happened. If you're watching on YouTube, we're looking back at the preseason when the vibes were up, when everything was good. Jourdan was celebrating, Brian Daboll smiling, talking about
how nice for him.
Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Things haven't gone well. I think the idea that the Giants front can cause pressure, which you brings up, Greg, it's an idea that's there. I would like to see it come to consistent fruition because the back end of the defense has continued to be bad, like they were a season ago, and
you can run at them.
Yeah, Justin Herbert and these targets downfield have been great. The 6.5 feels very generous to a quarterback making his first start in the NFL at home against a very good team, playing for a very bad team.
And I'm willing to guess that a bad game from one side of the offensive line is a little more animalic than what we've seen and what we expect from this Chargers group, especially with the amount of massive humans they have to provide chipping help where it's needed in their fullbacks, Scott Matlock, and their tight ends. I do think that that's a factor. I think that they absolutely need to run the ball better, but you see the vision as it's been so close to breaking through in these years with with Harbaugh at the helm, and you've got a quarterback in Justin Herbert playing at an MVP clip right now, and that cannot be forgotten about. I know it certainly isn't here, but when you combine that with the way that this defense helps out its offense, there is this really interesting collaboration between the two, even without, like I said, without Khalil Mack. The way that Jesse Minter, especially on known passing downs and on late downs, can design pressure. There's a really, really cool pressure he ran. This was in a couple weeks ago, and this was before Khalil Mack got hurt in the Raiders game, where basically they're sending two players at one lineman who then commands the chipping help to come out, kick out to the outside to help. And then the rusher who's going to actually go at the quarterback slips inside, almost like a pick play, but it's a pass rush, and has a clear line right to the quarterback. And he's basically changing the math post snap. And that's what he does again and again and again with this pressure. It's why Tui Pelotu, who's tied for 5th right now among all pass rushers with 15 pressures, is having so much success, other than the fact that he's a good player. They've gotten better on the interior. Tier Tart makes plays. They've gotten bigger on the interior. And they're badass in the secondary. And I just think that with Derwin James and Dion Henley holding down the middle of the field, they can do these cloudy zone coverages that will really confuse a young quarterback.
That was one of the best games of Derwin James' career, which is saying a lot. I've given like Fred Warner as an early, like just watch list defensive player of the year guy. Like Derwin James this year, like he is fully weaponized. This is as good a version of Derwin James as we've ever seen, which is crazy because he's had some really high highs. So you're right. Like that's all exciting and makes it hard to imagine. But I do think the element of surprise, I do think there are talented players, especially if Andrew Thomas is close to, 100%, because he looked pretty good in the snaps that he was out there last week. Like there are talented players. Scadaboo's given them a little bit of a jump, and I'm not sure about the offensive line. I mean, they played two of the worst pass rushes in the league the first 2 weeks, and the right side, like Trey Pipkins and who is it, Sawyer, like he was struggling last week. I do think it was a little underrated how much of a factor it might be long term that, we just popped a rookie in like literally the first game of his career, and he's catching passes from Herbert on the game-winning drive against the Broncos and goes 6 for 65 and has totally great movement skills. Like Oronde Gadsden could turn into like a pretty big part of this team this season and be a great pick.
On the Giants side, we're keeping an eye on Malik Neighbors, who's banged up and he's limited in practice this week. And that's where I question again, like Jackson Dart will probably target Cam Scadaboo a lot, especially in the short passing game and the quick throw outlet passing game. Who else if Mac Neighbors is not there? Theo Johnson has some stuff to him, but has not emerged consistently. They need him. They need a tight end to emerge in this offense for this offense to be what Brian Daboll wants it to be. I mean, it's just like I think they're overmatched.
Yeah, I think the Chargers and Minter will get to dictate what this game looks like, because I'm expecting a lot of RPO. It's where the Giants were successful in the preseason, and I'm expecting the Giants defense to give up a lot of points. Like honestly, like if you go to Andrew Phillips, who gets a lot of coverage, like his personal beef with CeeDee Lamb, he's given up more yards than any other defender in the slot.
Made a lot of plays though.
Yeah, he's made some plays, more yards than any other defender in the slot by 2, like double any other slot receiver like target. And then like there's fluky plays, like the catch from the greatest receiver of all time now. I'm blanking on his name, the former Patriot for the Chiefs.
Julian Edelman. Tyquan Thornton.
Yeah, Tyquan Thornton. Oh my God. Where he's like catches the ball behind his back. It's fluky in that. But yeah, the Giants are bad in coverage.
Let's move to another team that's bad in coverage.
Gregg's voice was?
Yeah. No.
Julian Edelman.
Yeah, he knows how much I love Julian Edelman. The Washington Commanders, 1.5 point favorites. A little beat up. Questions at quarterback and receiver. Taking on the Atlanta Falcons. The over-under is 44.5. Ian Eagle, J.J. Watt, Evan Washburn on the call. Can Atlanta bounce back after one of the nastiest performances we've seen all season, Gregg?
I tend to think the plexiglass principle applies in the NFL in general, where if you have that bad a performance, you usually come out the next week and play much better. I don't know why that happens. Maybe it's just the law of averages that teams aren't going to play as bad as losing 30-0 to the Panthers. They have issues. We've talked about the coaching stuff already this week, but the fact that Bijan Robinson leads the team in receiving is a problem, and that Drake London and Kyle Pitts are averaging under 10 yards per catch. There's just nothing downfield. It doesn't really make any sense. A lot of their offense just doesn't make sense. Remember, we thought the whole Kirk Cousins thing was like, man, they can't even do any play action or run the offense they want because Kirk Cousins can't move. They run the exact same offense now. It's like completely disjointed. If I didn't know any like too much, it like on paper it looks like one of the most confusing offenses like in the league in terms
But
of how
that's
it's
what
run.
he said. That's what Kirk Cousins said on quarterback, and you could really see it. He had a lot of trouble with some of the tags on the plays, the motion tags and some of the alignment tags.
They also they don't run play action. They should be a play action. They look like they should be a play action team, and they're not a play action team. And Michael Penix is great throwing it deep, and he never throws it deep. So I don't know what's going on.
I agree with you. Maybe Zach Robinson will have a better view of all of this now that he'll be coaching on the field versus up in the booth. And part of that, in my opinion, is to actually talk to your players and be able to hear them talk back, which they famously cannot talk back to you when they are when you are in the headset in their ear. And hey, maybe it would be great to hear some feedback in real time from the people who are going out there and doing the things. TJ Yates over coaching receivers now. And I've heard good things about him, and that's Raheem Morris making that decision and that move. Raheem Morris being a former receivers coach himself, which a lot of people forget because he's a defensive coach, but he coached players like Julio Jones and knows kind of what details he's looking for in that regard. We saw this when he let go of Jimmy Lake after 1 year last year. Raheem Morris is going to make a quick decision if it's clear that that decision has to be made for whatever reason.
They kind of not that
There's
they
not a kinda.
Yeah.
1-3 would feel dark right now for this Falcons team.
Good if you're a Rams fan, though, looking at that pick.
The injury for Terry McLaurin going to get a second opinion. Initially thought it was a quad injury. It seems like now they feel like it's higher up. There's concerns, maybe hernia, core muscle related. So getting checked there, that's scary. But fortunately for them, at this point, as of Wednesday, maybe Jaden Daniels is playing. They do have one of the better backups in the NFL if we're talking about actual quality backup.
Yeah.
Marcus Mariota played
He
pretty
actually
good.
Did you hear that?
Versus Jake Browning.
Marcus Mariota played pretty well.
Revenge game.
Last week. It is a revenge game.
Yes, it is.
There was a lot said about Marcus Mariota out of Flowery Branch after his departure. If it is Marcus, watch out.
Without Terry McLaurin, long term, you're worried. Also, Bill was out of practice on Wednesday. He did finish the game. He's looked good. Their running games look good in general. They went really heavy personnel against the Raiders, like 3 tight ends on the field quite a bit, and just steamrolled them for a while.
Things
And
you love to see.
this team looks a little tougher this year. I don't know if it's because of the teams they've played, but I do think the Washington defense, it has shown signs of being significantly improved. Dorrance Armstrong is one of the league leaders in pressures. They're getting it with like a lot of people. They have 7 or 8 guys. It's not like a star-studded group, but they're playing pretty well up front. And the Falcons' offensive line, on paper, maybe that's why they don't call these deep shots, and it's not. But then you would think they would do play action. Is that they don't believe in their offensive line right now, Atlanta, and so that could be a mismatch for Washington.
Do you know what one of my favorite things is anytime, which is quite frequently, Bobby Wagner has a good game, I look for an Ollie Connolly tweet or post or email because I subscribe to his Substack, the Read Optional. I look at that fantastic story that he wrote about Bobby Wagner and all of the really multifunctional things he can do and still is doing in that defense. And it's really interesting because Frankie Louvu, our guy, NFL Daily's one of our favorite players last season, is picking up more attention. Now, teams are playing him a little bit.
Been a little
different.
quiet.
Yeah.
Last week was better, but been a little quiet this year.
They asked him about it. He's like, I expected it. Teams are paying more attention. They're sending more at him.
Concerns in the Commanders' secondary after some injuries last week, and Trey Tucker running down the field by himself. Perhaps a chance for the Falcons' deep passing game to get if they can protect Michael Penix, because he's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league right now when facing pressure. They can keep him upright long enough. Maybe they'll get.
I believe. Although
I'm
it's
a
tough
Michael
matchup.
Penix fan. I think he's got it.
The Jacksonville Jaguars got a win last week thanks to some late pressure from Josh Hines Allen. They are taking a trip all the way across the United States to take on the San Francisco 49ers, who may have their quarterback back. They are favored by 3. The over-under is 47.5. Adam Levine, Mark Sanchez, Christina Pink on the call. Jourdan, we saw the Jags get back in the win column. Do they pose a threat to the maybe Brock Purdy-led San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, that's kind of something I've got my eye on big time, not just as whether Brock Purdy will play, because he's working back into practice this week, kind of as we record, as we tape this. Ricky Pearsall, who has very much emerged in this offense as the deep threat, as the one type receiver, especially with Jourdan Jennings beat up. He's banged up. He's not practicing to start the week. Jourdan Jennings is still banged up as well. They might get Demarcus Robinson back, which I think is a huge factor if Brock Purdy is back. Because Demarcus Robinson, who has been suspended for the last 3 games, he and Brock Purdy connected frequently in training camp, and reports out of camp, and also my own eyeballs, because I was there for a bit.
Hey now.
Reverse Benjamin buttoning. Like he looks great. He looks awesome. So that's a huge add for the 49ers, who are making a lot with a very injury-laden skill position group. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Jacksonville Jaguars are still trying to figure out who they have and what they have and how to deploy them at receiver.
Yeah, they aren't really integrating Travis Hunter consistently into the offense. And, of course, Liam Cohen's going to be asked about.
We had a great talk with Trav after this past game in terms of just, man, like, all right, how can we help you and put you, because he's, guys, right, what is he learning? It's a lot. So we've got to, I think, be a little bit more diligent in terms of putting him in positions to maybe not have to do as many moving parts so that we can just let him go play.
I thought he played with more confidence last week. Granted, it was only 1 catch on offense, but it was an awesome
It was
play.
a fun play.
Yeah, it was an awesome play after the catch, but I'm speaking more about what he's doing on defense.
Yes.
They're locking him into a certain spot, and I know like the coverage stats for PFF weren't great. He's in zone coverage, and if you look at some of those plays, like he's doing his responsibility and the other play call wins and they're not getting pressure home. He actually had some incredible reps against Nico Collins, and I've been all for doing both, and I think he should continue to do both. But if you told me they're already doing it, that it's a little more focused on letting him play cornerback, that's his more primary position, and that he's playing a little less at wide receiver, and that it's more targeted reps specific to what he's doing at receiver, like that makes sense to me, because I think he's hit the ground running a little faster at cornerback.
Normally, I would go to NFL Plus Pro to watch all of the isolated reps of Travis Hunter playing corner, because you can so filter that. But shout out to Billy M. I go way back. I go way back with that guy from when I was covering the Carolina Panthers, and he's always been great at posting relevant and ball-knowing football clips. And he posted an entire reel of every rep of Travis Hunter playing corner. I think I saw it via John Shipley as well, so double shout out there. And he played great. He looked awesome. To your point, Greg, he looked like one of the better corners in the NFL, playing especially at times against really tough matchups in Nico Collins. And yes, I am factoring in the fact that zone defense is a thing where, yes, you're going to have some cushion in front of you when you're playing zone defense. And so I think it's interesting with the Jacksonville Jaguars, because I give them, I think, a lot of grace. And I think when you draft a player, a unicorn of a player like that, and he has so much potential, and then you also have somebody like Brian Thomas Jr., who's so explosive. Okay, but you look at the rest of this, right? And I look at a team that very much needed to rebuild massive portions of its identity, of its offense. They went out and signed veteran free agents with the idea of phasing a lot of those players out as you continue to restock in the draft with players that specifically fit what this head coach wants to do. Now, one thing about Liam Cohen, and sometimes it'll come off as anachronistic or antagonistic even in, I don't know what the right word is. Antagonistic maybe is the right word in the press conference versus maybe what we see out of the player, or it comes off as like, hey, I'm talking to the player, or I told him this, or he didn't do this. But what it is he has, I think there's an arc that bends toward the match between player and scheme, and you're figuring out as a head coach how far to bend that arc. And as a player, you're figuring out where you fit within the confines and structures of this offense. He's not going to be able to play the Chris Godwin Buccaneers, where you have Chris Godwin who can play the the Cooper Kupp kind of role for you. It's not going to be the 2018 Rams where you have Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods doing all the things that Liam Cohen cut his teeth on doing and then deployed within that Tampa Bay Buccaneers offense when he was the offensive coordinator. It's just not going to be that. So right now I give them all collectively, players and coaches, a little bit of grace as they troubleshoot and figure out what is actually best for these players' skill sets. By the way, it's probably not going to be what I'm used to running as a coach, and that should be fine. You just got to figure that out.
Yeah, as much as Liam Cohen is talking about this being a learning process for Travis Hunter, it's definitely a learning process for a coaching staff that's trying to do something with a player that hasn't been done before, and playing playing a majority of the snaps on offense and defense. Last week, where this was the dream. Like this was it come to fruition. Travis Hunter played a majority of the offensive snaps and a majority of the defensive snaps, and the Jags won. Like that's what the hope was.
Yeah.
And
I've been impressed by the Jags in general. I think they win this game.
I think they're frisky.
I know they're underdogs in this game. 49ers fans are probably feeling confident. Both these teams have run the ball inconsistently. The Jaguars started out the season great. They just had a bad week, but they were playing Houston. In general, Christian McCaffrey and the 49ers have not run the ball well. We need a word for someone who is like an all-time great, who's not quite at the level that he used to be, but he's still at a very high level. Because that's where Christian McCaffrey is right now.
Shaq Heat.
Okay.
Heat Shaq.
Ooh.
Heat Shaq.
Ooh.
And you can win a championship that way.
Yeah.
You can build an entire offense.
You had that one ready to go.
That's amazing.
That was incredible.
You could build an offense that's for a 3-0 team around that person. Like, that's how good he still is. But they're not the same right now blocking for him, and he's not the same explosive. And yeah, I assume Pearsall will be okay, but we'll see. Just
look out if Ricky Pearsall, considering the volume of targets that Pearsall's getting, as well as the air yards, if he's not, like, look out.
Because he finished that game, and he's a guy who hasn't even needed to be that open to make big plays. But I'm really impressed with the Jaguars defense. We should move on. But man, Devin Lloyd and Josh Hines Allen, Josh Hines Allen in 2 of the 3 games they've played this year has been the best player on the field, and they're getting development out of guys. Devin Lloyd is playing well. Like there's something to this team. I like them.
They're frisky.
I think they might knock off the 49ers this week.
All right, a team that was frisky and got a win at home last week is on the road. Task maybe a little tougher this time, or maybe not. The Cleveland Browns at the Detroit Lions, who are 9.5-point favorites coming off their win in Baltimore. The over-under is 44.5. Kenny Albert, Jonathan Vilba, and Megan O'Leary on the call. And Greg, can the Browns do it again this week?
This is a much tougher test for the Lions offense. It actually seems like an obvious point to make, but I think it is worth noting that they've played one, I would say, elite defense this year, and they obviously had a bad week 1. They played 2 defenses that are struggling on balance, and they looked all the way back into being all the Lions, and I think that's closer to where they were. That's what good teams do. They beat up on bad defenses, and just the individual talent is overwhelming, and the offensive line, it looks so good. Mm-hmm. But this will be a much tougher test for that interior offensive line specifically, and whoever's got to block Myles Garrett. It's going to be a really fun matchup when the Lions have the ball.
Yeah, and it could be Penei Sewell, but Myles Garrett moves around, and he does that Euro step kind of move that he has that
Shout out to Yannick Ngakoue.
It's just so cool that, he can move around. What I do really like, and I had hoped this happened because you heard whispers about him and his sort of alternate personality in college, Tate Ratledge, and I mean this in the most complimentary way possible, is emerging as the true dirtbag offensive lineman that I hoped he totally would become. And when you're playing with a team, or you're playing against a Cleveland defense that is number 2 in stopping the run in terms of success rate, you really need to push some bodies around. And I really was impressed with not just the synchronicity of the entire line, but that young Tate Ratledge is really emerging as this tough player that they need up front to kind of give him some teeth against a defense like this.
And they're not the Lions by any means, but the run game has been better with Quinshon Judkins for the Browns. They ran the ball pretty effectively when they had a chance to.
This is you guys' training camp doesn't matter player, proving that training camp doesn't matter.
I don't know that it proves it. It just highlights the fact that players can be successful without going to training camp. He looks great.
I feel bad for Flacco right now. He got way too much heat for that game last week. It was similar to Jordan Love. He had no chance on so many of those plays. I actually thought he did a reasonable job just trying to avoid catastrophe plays. And he had the one interception, which was a 4th down play at the end of the half where essentially he was trying to get intercepted if they weren't going to hit the play because it just ended the half. Like, it's going to be hard. It's been a little under talked about on this show that both their tackles are injured. DeJuan Jones is out for the season now. Jack Conklin has been out. That wasn't a great position before. So you're going to their backups. Joe Bitonio is really banged up. Like, it's a lot to ask of Joe Flacco in this passing game. And so I think for this Lions defense, which is on the upswing, like, it's obviously a great matchup for them.
It's one of those situations where, I mean, styles make fights, and we see that every single week. And the Lions were able to take advantage of an offense that loves to hit home runs. And Lamar was going to try to wait and make plays, and the Lions weren't scared. they didn't like fall over their shoes thinking Lamar was going to do a whole bunch on Monday night. And now you have to completely check it down and play a completely different game against Joe Flacco, who, like you pointed out, wasn't even trying to get in the batter's box. Some of those reps against the Green Bay Packers. And
if he has a chance, he'll throw that ball downfield. But
if the stars align just right,
if the pressure's coming, yeah, he's just getting rid of that ball.
And so I'd be willing to offer this one up. As well.
Interesting.
If we would like to make our survivor
did we make a final decision with Steve Wyche? Did I miss that? I feel like we've been in here for an entire weekend. The Bills are one option, certainly.
The Texans were another option.
The Lions are an option, but I don't like it. I think the Browns are too good. I actually think this could be not a letdown game, but you're coming back short week for the Lions. I'm just saying.
So Buffalo's a very good team.
Yes.
And we would like to have the option of using the Buffalo Bills later this year. And I understand that.
You got to keep it going, though.
But you have to survive.
Yeah. Let's go Bills, then. What do you think?
Bills.
Okay.
That was my pick.
Okay. Sorry, Lions. Also, before we go, everyone's been asking me, when am I going to make my apology? No, I'm kidding. No one asks things like that. About Mason Graham. I've been getting a lot of heat. Daniel Jeremiah sending me texts. Oh, expect to see a barrage of mentions. I have. Mason Graham played great last week. You know who else played great? Every single defensive lineman on the Cleveland Browns. I am not moving off my spot.
There it is.
He's just part of a good group. For what it's worth, of the 9 defensive linemen, that played on the Cleveland Browns last week, PFF had him. 9 defensive players. I think in the front 7, he was 9th. He was 5th out of the defensive linemen. Everyone ate last week, and they're playing a bunch of backups at new spots against the Packers. That was small of me.
No, it wasn't small.
But like my guy, Aiden Huntington from Tulane, playing both sides of the ball. He had a sack, and everyone was. Malik Collins looked like the best player in the league. All right. We got to go. We will be back in this feed on Thursday night, and it'll be the two of you. So I'm looking forward to listening to that. After that, you're going to hear some small shows from me from Dublin. We're going to do our picks. We're getting Cynthia Freeland's picks, but we're going to involve the Ringer fantasy show guys, Danny Heifetz, Danny Kelly, Craig Horbeck. They're going to be making some picks with me too. We have Michael McQuaid from over in Dublin, the Irish NFL show. Really excited for all of it. And by the way, I mentioned on the first show that I had done a podcast over in Ireland. That's Colm Kelly in OT Ireland. I want to give all the pop.
There it is.
To all the people. Thank you for playing that. I got to go catch a bird.
You and Daniel Jones.
Enjoy Dublin, Greg.
We will see you on the other side. But before that, it's going to be some Thursday night football. See you then.